about their unity. They rode to victory and potentially placed Armstrong in the yellow jersey. But when all was said and done, Team Saxo Bank's ride kept race leader Fabian Cancellara in yellow, but only by the smallest of margins. The ride to Paris is underway.
You are watching the Tour de France on Versus, the most epic race ever. And I am the king of the mountains.
The palaces and castles of Perpignan are the backdrop as Stage 5 serves up yet another mix of drama and destiny. Comedy or tragedy? Well, the Peloton will decide which play unfolds. Hello, everybody. Along with the brain power of Bob Roll, I am Craig Hummer. Bob, we're always accused in the media of exaggerating and blowing things out of proportion, but how big of a day was it for Astana yesterday?
A great day for Astana. It's hard to exaggerate when Lance Armstrong is in the same sentence of anything that you say. Astana came here to say we're the strongest teams. Everybody else is going to have to watch us fly. They did just that in the team time trial, an event they take great pride in.
People at home might be wondering, why is it Lance in yellow? He has the same time as Fabian Cancellara. Well, it went back to the original time trial in stage number 1. Cancellara beat Armstrong by 22 hundredths of a second. So what they do in the other stages, though, is they round to the nearest second. Lance needed to go 32 hundredths faster for him to get that yellow. Well, there's still plenty of time, as we all know. Let's look back at the Wells Fargo highlights from stage number 4, the team time trial. It was a great day for Astana, but not for a lot of others.
A lot of other teams do not do the research that's required. They don't recon these courses, and that's Denny Menchov, the leader of Team Rabobank. He just won the Giro d'Italia. He's going to have a tough time in the Tour. B-Box Telecom, a French team, should know these roads like the back of their hand. They do not do the research either. 4 guys out of 9 going down in one corner. That was a disaster.
And then for Silence Lotto, it would get worse as well. Jurgen Vandenbroek, ooh, he goes for a slide.
Well, it started bad for Silence Lotto, and it got worse from there.
Garmin Slipstream, however, one of those teams we thought would contend, they put on a blistering pace from the start.
Absolutely, being led into the first corner by a very experienced team time trialist, Bradley Wiggins, and he was the motor for this machine throughout the day.
They would shed 4 of their 9, crossing the line with the final 5, but that's all you need to stop the clock. At that time, they were in first.
And gave a great advantage to Christian Vandevelde, their GC overall contender. Christian gets a little bit of time back from his rivals.
Team Saxo Bank also very strong, and no one stronger at the moment than yellow jersey wearer Fabian Cancellara.
Fabian in yellow there, the best time trial in the business. His challenge on the day was not to go so quickly that other riders got in trouble. You can see him in the front, but Gustav Larsson having trouble with that corner.
He seemed to pull them all across the line for the last kilometer, willing himself to stay in yellow. Team Columbia HTC, they'd done a lot of work the past couple days, and it showed.
I think showing a little bit of fatigue on an event they should have been much closer to, much more competitive in. They struggled throughout the day. Mark Cavendish has won 2 stages. They are having a great tour. A little bit of a hiccup here in the team time trial. They would have liked to go much faster.
Well, they get a chance to regroup, of course, for today's stage. Another flat finish. Columbia HTC would end up in 5th. We come to that final team. They were last to leave the start house, and they set the top time at every time check.
All eyes on this man and his team Astana, the most perfectly well-disciplined team in all of cycling. They have seen this course more than any other team in the race, and it paid off big dividends on such a technical course.
It's been well documented, but Lance and Alberto spoke to each other before the stage. They said, listen, we know there's not any conflict, but let's also put a ton of time into our rivals.
Exactly. Let's prove it the best way we can that we are teammates, and that's with our legs, not within the media, not saying anything, but getting the job done. Winners of stage number 4's team time trial.
What that did, besides add to the celebration at the Astana bus, was put a lot of Astana riders in the top 10 overall. Let's take a look at those standings. An incredible day, but of course, Cancellara, he stays in yellow just by the slimmest of margins.
Hanging on to that yellow jersey by the skin of his teeth, that is Fabian Cancellara. A beautiful tour so far for the big man from Switzerland.
Those are your Wells Fargo daily highlights, and here are our Hampton Hotel overall standings. Cancellara tied with Lance Armstrong Armstrong on time, but Cancellara keeps yellow. Contador still right behind Armstrong, and there are all those Astana names.
Contador, Kloden, Leipheimer, and even Zubeldia in 7th, so 5 guys from Team Astana in the top 10. Tony Martin, Dave Zabriskie up there doing a great ride in 9th.
Some other notables, Van de Velde still only a minute and 16 seconds back. 29th, however, Carlos Sastre, 2 minutes and 44 seconds behind. That's the defending champion.
And this is where it gets a little bit ugly for Cadel Evans. 3 minutes down. Denny Menchov even worse. 4 minutes down. Bonen, Farrar, Pate going for stages later. Still hanging tough in the race.
Everyone's been talking about how important stage number 4, that team time trial, was, although they do know there are a number of days left. But who can hold their head high beside Astana after yesterday?
I think that Garmin did a great job. They brought a solid team here, of course, for the Tour de France, and most importantly, got some time back from the other overall contenders for Christian Van de Velde.
We take a look at our winners and losers. As you mentioned, the winners all Astana, as well as Lance Armstrong, even Cancellara, Andy Schleck, because he limited his time loss as well.
Good riding by Andy Schleck. I was surprised to see him trading turns at the front there with Fabian Cancellara, but he is on solid form. I think that's the best time trial we've ever seen him ride.
The losers, though, defending champ Carlos Sastre, Cadel Evans, the Aussie who's placed 2nd the past 2 tours, and of course the Russian.
I think Carlos Sastre has been a little bit pragmatic about going into this tour, hoping the last week favors him. The big mountains to come will most certainly do that. But for Evans and Menchov, this has been a horrible first few days of racing.
They're going to have to very quickly make up some ground. The Tet Canal is our picturesque backdrop here in Perpignan. The serene setting contrasts with our ferocious finish.
The 2009 Tour de France pre-race on Versus is presented by Cadillac.
Choosing a car is like trying on a dress. As soon as you slip into it, you know it's the one. But you still turn around to see the back, because let's face it, you want them to hate to see you go, but love to watch you leave.
Introducing the all-new Cadillac CTS Sport Wagon.
Before the start of the race, I can feel my heartbeat in my hands, in my throat, in my eyes, everywhere. Fear and the stress, it makes me better. What do I see at 230 miles an hour? It's tunnel vision, and you have one goal, the checker flag. Speed is about winning races, breaking records, and making history. Speed is my drug. It's gotta be a new
No change in the jerseys after stage number 4. Cancellara holds on to yellow by the slimmest of margins. Cavendish still in green. Vikinen with the polka dots. And Tony Martin, the best young rider. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the Cadillac pre-race show. It's time for us to welcome in our dynamic duo, Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwen. Paul, what'd you think of the hotel last night?
Absolutely fantastic. I had a great meal.
I didn't.
Not at all.
No.
The wine, you said, Phil, was a bit off.
It's the first time I should have gone to the gym to practice to cut the steak.
That's not a good sign, is it? All right, well, speaking of impressions, it's time to open up our forum once again. Phil, we'll start with you. Give me your overall impression of the tour so far.
Well, I've been very impressed with Bob Roll's haircut, but it's going a bit long now. But in all seriousness, everybody's going to say Lance Armstrong. Well, look, I'm not, because I expected him to do exactly what he's doing. As we said before the tour began, if he's going back to the Tour de France, he's going back to ride to win. And so his ride has just really come up to form yesterday. I think the man I'd like to talk about is probably Christian Van der Velde, because here's a guy that had that nasty crash in the Giro d'Italia, and then he had to really bring himself back. And he rode a good team time trial yesterday, because, as we know, Garmin Slipstream finished only 5 riders, the minimum. Van der Tavel was one of them, and I've got a lot of admiration for him here.
I'd have to agree with Phil that the inclusion of Lance Armstrong back in the race after a long time absence has brought the crowds out, the enthusiasm from the crowds, and also the competitive nature of the athletes. The Tour every day has been thrilling, and I think that's down to one man. The difference between last year and this year, there's only one guy different, and that's Lance Armstrong.
I tell you who's impressed me, really, you've got to talk about Mark Cavendish, and I know you're thinking it's only because he's British, but I tell you what, it's a long time since we've seen a sprinter be quite as dominant as that young man from the Isle of Man. But I think you're both wrong. I am very impressed with Lance Armstrong. I was extremely impressed with him yesterday, because if you just wind the tape back and go back to the team time trial of yesterday, every time there was a dangerous moment in the team time trial, Armstrong was riding at the front. When it came on the running towards the finish, he was doing longer turns than anybody else, as if he was trying to dictate to the team. And we know there's been a little bit of a misunderstanding between him and Contador and Johan Brunel. Lance was banging on the table yesterday to say, guys, I'm back.
Well, just, you mentioned Mark Cavendish. Well, I hate it when you disagree with me.
Doesn't happen very often.
Mark Cavendish, as you know, he's got a young lady with very little clothing on, but he has the Union Jack flag over the vital parts on his head tube. On the seat tube, he has Sprint Force 1 written in bold with the Royal Navy Air Force insignia there. Well, now, as from today, he's starting to put notches on his bike. He has these little stickers of wings, and he's got 2 on for 2-stage wins, and he's hoping to add a 3rd today. But he brought all this stuff with him, which is amazing.
Yeah, there's a bit of a problem, though, because if he gets too many victories, he might not have a long enough top tube.
Right, he's gonna run out of space, isn't he? Here's the thing that I'm impressed with real quickly, guys. We all know the relationship that Lance Armstrong has somewhat enjoyed, I'll put that word in quotes, with the French media. Yesterday at a news conference, a guy stood up, a French journalist stood up and said, "Thank you, Lance Armstrong. You've brought more excitement in these 4 days of this year's tour than in the past 4 years." So I think the French are really taking notice of Lance and what he's bringing back to the sport. So another day today, though, out on the road. So, Paul, the wins, they look like they're going to play a role again today. Take us through the map for Stage 5.
Certainly, that's the important thing about this part of the world. When you come down here and you're riding alongside the Mediterranean coast, you're always going to have windy conditions, and we saw what that did to the main field the other day. The stage takes the riders from Cap d'Agde all the way down to Perpignan, and this is not really just cycling country, this is rugby country, and they really love the game in this part of the world. That part just down there, as they go along the coast, is where it's going to be extremely dangerous. You see how flat it is. You would think that there's no problem at all for the riders, but it's going to be the wind buffeting the riders once again.
It is, and it should give them a tailwind finish because they go south to turn north here. But there you can see Cap d'Agde to Perpignan, 122 miles, nearly as wide as Lake Michigan. It's amazing, that lake, isn't it? 36 visit to Perpignan. The last time Paul Sherwen was here with me, Laurent Dabion was the winner back in 1997. I think we will have a good race today. But they don't come much flatter than this, Paul, so I can't see a breakaway succeeding.
Columbia HTC hoping and expecting, right, guys, that these other sprinter teams are going to move to the forefront. Well, Tor Hushoff used to live in this area, so now it's time for our Cadillac performance predictions. I'm guessing one of the 4 of us is going to pick Tor, but that remains to be seen. Let's take a look at the results, though. Bob Roll, look at this.
Yeah,
he has
look at
moved
the last man,
to the lead.
4 points.
9 points ahead of Paul Sherwen and myself, Fig Liggett. As you just mentioned, congratulations, you're on the board.
And earlier than last year, I might add. Yeah.
Much earlier. All right, well, here you go.
See what happens when
That's
you
the
pick
yellow
first.
jersey. Bob Roll, it is yours. Well done.
For the moment. I'm coming.
For the moment, indeed. Well, you're feeling very confident today, even though you have
Do I
last pick.
Fourth.
Yes.
He picks 4th today.
Fourth today.
I picked first, I win. Now I'm back to the end again.
You've got to be astute enough to pick a good rider when you pick in 4th place. And I'm sure you can today.
We might have to bring up the Colonial Clash in a moment, but the Americans doing quite well against the Brits. But today, as always, a new day. We hope you're playing along at home as well at Versus.com. I've got first pick today, and I really like where I'm sitting. Not only here with you 4, but in the picking order.
You got a breakaway?
No, I'm not going to go with the breakaway. I'm going to go with the bunch sprint again. And even though the Columbia HTC team might be tired, I think Cavendish has enough power to ride anybody's wheel and pass whoever he wants at the end. So I'm hoping Cavs 4 points help me along back to the forefront. So, Paul, you think a little something different, though, don't you?
Absolutely. One man has beaten, well, 3 guys have beaten Mark Cavendish this year, and one of them is Tom Bonen. So I'm going to go for Big Tom, because I reckon Big Tom's got a point to prove. He's missed out on the first couple of sprints because he's not actually been there. But now that he's going to have a crack at getting himself a stage victory, he wants to get across the line with the Belgian national champion's jersey on his shoulders. So I think Tom has got the power to lead out Cav and leave Cav trailing behind, because for once, I think Cavendish might make a mistake today.
Bob, I mentioned a moment ago that Tor Hushov, when he was with Credit Agricole, used to live near this area. Local knowledge going to be a factor, you think?
Well, I think local knowledge will help the Norse god of thunder on today's stage, and that lightning will peal from the sacred halls of Valhalla and give Blobstack Lightman some more points. Go Tor! Also, I have to say something serious. This is Carlos Sastre has lost almost 3 minutes on the overall classification already, and I think that Team Cervelo is going to switch some of their resources over to Tor's chances to win some stages. So I think he'll have a couple of extra teammates helping him out in the sprint, and that could be the difference between perhaps not beating Cavendish, but getting me some points anyways.
Interesting choice of words you just had. You used the word lightning. So as we move to pick number 4, will lightning strike twice in a row for Phil Liggett?
I reckon that this young man on the Garmin Slipstream team, he dropped off early in the team time trial, Tyler Farrar, so he's well rested for today's stage, and I'm hoping that he's going to come along and he's going to take a sprint here. And, you know, he's got the legs to win this race, and he's also beaten Mark once this year. And I think it will be a tailwind sprint. It'll be very, very difficult to get round Mark Cavendish, but it is possible. He's proved it. So Garmin Slipstream will get their first stage win today, and I will be on the chart, just 1 point behind Bob Roll by the end of the day.
That's the story, and you're sticking to it,
yes, right? That's the theory.
Okay, well, today's stage, the exact same length as 2 days ago, 196.5 kilometers. Perpignan was once the capital of the Kingdom of Mallorca. Who will be crowned king for the day remains to be seen.
The 2009 Tour de France pre-race on Versus is presented by Cadillac.
Get 1,000 Hilton Honors bonus points when you stay with us. Real value from your friends at Hampton.
Geico's been saving people money on car insurance for over 70 years. And who doesn't want value for their dollar? Been true since the day I made my first dollar. Where is that dollar? I got it out to show you.
Was it rather old and wrinkly?
Yeah, you saw it?
Fancy a crisp?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
My mom mentioned eHarmony, and I just didn't take myself as a guy who really needed the internet. And then I kind of changed my ideas where it wasn't necessarily to get a date, it was to meet the right person.
Log on and review your matches for free. eHarmony.com.
My name is Wes Birmingham, Atlanta, Georgia.
Quaker State wants to know who has the world's worst commute.
You got construction on 75, 285, I-20, 30 miles, 2 hours. There's nothing I love about traffic. Nothing. Gotta be killing my engine.
A tough commute is tough on your engine, so get an oil that goes way beyond industry standards. Quaker State bonds to metal surfaces for 2 times better wear protection. Quaker State, real, durable oil.
Buckle up, everybody, because we're taking a ride that can strain your relationships and hurt your pride. It's the credit roller coaster, and as you can see, it kind of bites. So sing the lyrics with me. When your debt goes up, your score goes down. When you pay a little off, it goes the other way round. It's just the same for everybody, every boy and girl. The credit roller coaster makes you want to hurl. So throw your hands in the air and wave them around like a wannabe frat boy trying to get down and bring them right back to where your laptop's at. Log on to freecreditreport.com. Free credit score and report with
May I help you? Yeah, I'm looking for car insurance that isn't going to break the bank.
You're in the right place. Only Progressive gives you the option to name your price. Here.
A price gun? Mm-hmm. So I tell you what I want to pay.
And we build you a policy to fit your budget.
That's cool. Feel so empowered.
Power to the people. The option to name your price. New and only from Progressive. Call or click today.
Yesterday, we promised you drama, and drama we delivered. The king of cycling, Lance Armstrong, and his teammates made an emphatic statement to the world by taking the all-important team time trial.
They need to kick very, very hard here, and they've done it.
Today, the Goliaths of the Tour take a backseat once again so the sprinters can come out to rumble. British missile Mark Cavendish, who has been racking up win after win, goes for his third road race stage in a row. Will the rest of the speedsters take a back seat once again, or will someone put an end to Cavendish's reign? Find out next on Versus. This is Perpignan's most prestigious monument. It's the Cathedral of Saint-Just and Saint-Sauveur. They started building it in the 13th century, and they still haven't finished it. But one thing's for sure today, the Tour de France will end in this city. This is the River Tete, which courses just down the road from the finishing line, and this is the finishing line. With the entertainers on the streets, we promise to move them before the riders come down that long, fast finish today. Hello everybody, Phil Liggett, Paul Sherwen. Welcome back to live coverage of Stage 5 of the Tour de France today here on Versus. Yesterday we saw the Tour de France at its best. We saw Lance Armstrong back to his best.
We certainly did. If you regard Team Astana, Phil, as a board of directors, I think yesterday Lance Armstrong was most definitely the chairman, because he chaired those bike riders all the way around there. And I think losing out on the yellow jersey for 22 hundredths of a second has never been seen before.
It's nothing. He can't even blink that fast. But it won't be about the main contenders for the final victory in Paris of this race this time, because today we come down right down the side of the Mediterranean Sea. It's flat. It's for the sprinters. And this race has shown us already, Paul, that we've got one great sprinter.
A great sprinter. He's from the Isle of Man, and his name is Mark Cavendish. He came out of the pack on the first road stage, Stage 2, and showed us just how easily he's learned to win these sprints. And that was a very emphatic victory for him, and of course for his team, High Road HTC. They led him out to absolute perfection. The next day did the same thing again, and behind him, just trailing to try and get into his slipstream, the big god of thunder, Thor Hushovd. And it's because of his consistency so far, Phil, that he's now leading the green jersey points classification.
So we've had 2 road race stages and 2 time trials. Mark Cavendish has won both road race stages. He's the first British sprinter to wear that green jersey, and he leads now with 70 points, maximum points in the sprint wins. 54, very close for Hushovd. He's been consistent. Cancellara, the first stage winners, got 35 in 4th. How do we score this?
Well, it's a fairly complicated competition. Out on the course, there are 3 points where you can pick up a few small points, 6, 4 and 2, but the sprinters normally aim for the big finish line points. 35 points for the win, 30 for second, 26 for third, tailing down all the way down to 25th place, where you can earn yourself a single point.
All right, well, let's start at the beginning with our Nature Valley stage reset. And this is at the start today in Cap d'Agde. Mark Cavendish in green, Fabian Cancellara happy enough, only just in yellow now by 22 hundredths of a second. Armstrong nearest camera, chatting with Thor Hushovd, the sprinter. We're off to a crash, and the race hadn't even officially started.
Yes, just to explain, before the race actually starts in earnest, the riders normally go in a neutralised manner to the outskirts of town. To this point here, kilometre 0, that's when the neutralised flag is taken in, and that's when the attacks usually at the Tour de France start.
Yes, the first out of every stage of the Tour de France is attack and a counter-attack, and then hopefully somebody gets away and spends the next 3 hours sweating it out ahead of the field. Well, it happened again. 3 riders got away, quickly joined by another 3. And then by the time they came down to the sprint, loosely speaking, Anthony Jeselin, Hutrovic and Voekler went over the line in that order. Well, that's on Nature Valley, stage reset, as we now go to live pictures and pick up straight away with Team Astana and a very loquacious Lance Armstrong at the moment.
Well, Lance Armstrong very close to the top of the overall leaderboard. Just 22 hundredths of a second separates him from the yellow jersey of Fabian Cancellara. But what a great ride by Team Astana yesterday, and I have to say by Lance Armstrong too.
Well, as we look here at the Astana team, the Garmin team, Team Columbia HTC, let me remind you, our pictures coming to you this year from the Tour de France in high definition. If you haven't got it, believe me, on these shots you're missing out. If you want to know more about it, please do check your local listings. This is Frank Schleck. He's just a moment ago had a flat tyre, and he's now trying to get back in the action.
It's Andy Schleck.
Sorry.
They swapped jerseys, if you remember,
dear,
last year.
Confuse me.
Last year, Frank was the champion of Luxembourg. This year, it's the turn of Andy to be the champion of Luxembourg, and he's the leader of Team Saxo Bank, although he's already lost himself a little bit of time because of the team time trial yesterday. He's way down in 20th place.
Weather today, it's always the same in the south of France. Mostly sunny, very hot at 86 degrees Fahrenheit, but high winds today, even higher than yesterday, 25 miles an hour. So we've lost another rider yesterday. We saw a lot of crashes. Time trial. Poor old Pete Royackers of the Skill Shimano team. He crashed on what we call the B-box bend, and he broke his arm and is obviously out of the race. So 2 riders down, and 2 of the 20 teams now riding with 8 men.
We're looking here at Team Astana. Mr. Armstrong sitting in the middle there, sandwiched amongst his riders, right behind Jaroslav Popovic. You can always pick Lance Armstrong out because he wears a slightly different coloured helmet to everybody else. His helmet is designed in the Livestrong colours of black and yellow. Just a quick glimpse there. You can see that little box at the back of the machine. Those are transponders, which all of the riders in the Tour de France have fixed to their bikes. And the reason for that is so that we can then figure out very quickly how they cross the line.
Well, the 6 men that got away, first of all, it was Anthony Jeselin of France Les Jeux, Thomas Voekler of B-Box Telecom, and Marcin Sapa, he's a Polish rider in his first tour for Lampre. They were joined along the way by the champion of Belarus, Yahini Hutrovic, and then followed by Mikhail Ignatiev from Katusha and Albert Timmer of Skill Shimano. They've formed a 6-man leading group. They've been way up, but the chase, I feel, Paul, they were up for nearly 10 minutes, but the chase now has been a bit more in earnest and much earlier this time.
Yes, you're quite right there. It got up to almost 10 minutes, but it's been rapidly cut back. We've gone almost halfway through the stage. The riders are not too far away from getting to the knife and fork part of the race this afternoon. That's where the feeding zone is. A couple of 4th category climbs, and then it's all the time the final 80 kilometers, Phil, are completely flat along the side of the Mediterranean before turning inland to finish right in the very heart, in fact, of the city of Perpignan.
Well, heading down to the famous wine-growing area of Roussillon today. As we look here at the peloton, they've been beaten a lot by that strong wind today. It's running across them, but it also comes onto the head as well. But because they go south, they do rejoin coming up with wind in their favour. Well, there's our daily washing line to show you there, all the coloured jerseys, plus the blue jersey far left. That one is of Lance Armstrong's jersey, so you can locate him. At the moment, they're all together in the big pack. Yesterday, we did see, a day before, rather, we did see them split up when Lance got into that breakaway. And the crosswinds are taking 25 riders clear of the field, including Lance Armstrong and the yellow jersey of Fabian Cancellara.
A number of other teams have come up to the front to help out Team Columbia this year. I think everybody's very scared about the crosswinds because if Team Columbia put the hammer down as they did just the other day, I think everybody realizes that they could split this race into a number of pieces.
So stage 5 is well underway now, but there's a long way to go. But the chase, and it's Garmin Slipstream and doing a lot of the chasing today, which augurs well for the confidence in Tyler Farrar the finish. We'll find out.
Kelly Saunders Nature Valley. The place that inspires her to go faster and slower. Elk Mountains, Colorado. Where's yours? 100% natural Nature Valley granola bars. The taste nature intended.
At TireRack.com, we stock the largest selection of tires anywhere. But we don't just ship them off to your house after you buy them. We can deliver them to one of over 5,000 of our independent recommended local installers. Because the best tires in the world can't help you if they're not properly installed on your vehicle.
Right now, when you buy a set of 4 select BF Goodrich tires, get a $50 Visa prepaid card. For details, go to TireRack.com/TV. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Jeffrey, it's after midnight. What are you doing?
I'm buying car insurance.
Right now?
Yep, I just logged on to thegeneral.com.
At The General, you can get an instant online quote that includes a low rate, low monthly payment, and a down payment as low as $59, even if you have tickets or an accident on your record.
Okay, all done.
Great. Bring me some cheese puffs.
Best car insurance rates in town. Call 1-800-GENERAL now.
Choosing a car is like trying on a dress. As soon as you slip into it, you know it's the one. But you still turn around to see the back. Because let's face it, you want them to hate to see you go, but love to watch you leave.
Introducing the all-new Cadillac CTS Sport Wagon.
The internet. If you're using it to communicate, shop, and gather information, then you're doing it all wrong. The web is invented so you can see stuff like this.
I'm a local mom. All right, thank you.
That's why we're proud to introduce Web Soup, the finest internet videos the way they were meant to be seen on your television. And you're welcome.
Web Soup, hosted by Chris Hardwick, all new Sunday at 9, only on G4.
Welcome back. The red roofs here, the far south of France. It's almost like desert-like conditions as well. This is the rear of the peloton here. As we look here at the teammates of Cadel Evans. This is Matty Lloyd, who was injured but has come back to ride his first Tour de France. But unfortunately for Cadel Evans, who's finished second the last 2 years, the team did not ride well yesterday, and Evans is now languishing really nearly 3 minutes behind the men who matter. So that's going to be a tough climb back for him. He won't be bothered with today's stage. This year there's no time bonuses in the Tour de France. Normally you get small time bonuses if you finish in the first 3 on the day or get out there and win a sprint along the route, and that comes off your overall standings. But there's none of that, so this race really is representative of real time to ride the distance around France. Plus a few incursions, of course, into other countries, like tomorrow when we go to Spain. We have a finish in Barcelona tomorrow. It's not a flat finish either. It's quite a difficult climb. Well, let me remind you too, as we continue to play our games, don't forget to log on to versus.com/ride of your life. You do it every day during the tour. It's a chance to win a trip for 2 to the 2010 Tour de France or a Cervelo S2 bicycle. You can also win a yellow jersey or a polka dot jersey, the same as we use in the Cadillac Performance Predictions, and they'll be signed by us. Today's code word, there it goes, was Peloton, exactly what we're looking at the moment. A big bunch there as they continue to huddle together, but they are actually moving quite quickly now, and we are not going to be treated to a long breakaway getting caught near the finish today. Beautiful roads, Paul. Almost desert-like, aren't they, down here, because it's so hot at this time of the year. But the big problem is the wind, and the course is interesting today. You can't actually see the Mediterranean yet, but we get right down on the side of it shortly, and we'll follow it right around the corner as the race lines itself up for the journey down towards Spain, where we'll be tomorrow. And then we go south of Perpignan, swing round and horseshoe back and race back up to the city for some distance. and that's when they're going to feel a total different direction of the wind. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't think we'll be treated to the same situation that we were a couple of days ago. The wind down there a little bit different.
Yeah, but I think also, Phil, everybody was not really paying attention when that split happened in the main field, and they will all be alert for the possibility of a big attack in the crosswinds. We've got around about 30 kilometres of very flat open road once we get down to the coast, and yes, the riders will have the Mediterranean on their left shoulders for the whole of that distance, and the wind currently is extremely blustery, so I'm sure that one or two teams will like to try and see if they can split the field, because they are trying to think how can they move their men back up. Because of that team time trial yesterday, there's an awful lot of riders lost already huge chunks of time.
We're 88 kilometres out, or 55 miles. This is Tezon des Corbières, another famous wine-growing region down here. And it's the feeding station for the riders, taking all the drinks. Fluid most important, solid food not quite as important perhaps today. Johan van Summeren is the rider in our picture there, putting everything into his back pockets. But it's grab and go as far as these riders are concerned. This is the best drive-through restaurant in the world, I reckon.
Brings a whole new meaning to fast food. This is Bernard Eisel on the front. He was one of the riders dropped in the team time trial yesterday, and that's not really a surprise when you try and imagine the amount of work that Bernard Eisel has done for Columbia HTC, the team of Mark Cavendish. His job is to set the pace early on. That was Levi Leipheimer just having a drink there. And he's up alongside Lance Armstrong, who must be extremely happy with the way he rode in the team time trial yesterday, because I reckon he was one of the strongest men in that 9-man formation.
So don't forget, these are the leaders, Jeslan, Hutrovic, Sapa is a new Polish rider. In fact, there's 4 newcomers in this breakaway of 6. If Thomas Voekler certainly isn't. He's 1-4-1 in front of us there. Ignatieff is, and so is Timmer. Timmer is the rider at the back here. What rotten luck for his team yesterday. They crashed a mass pileup, which we didn't see on television. Skill Shimano losing 4 riders. 1 broke his arm. Roy Yackers in 2 places, so he was straight to hospital. That was a real shame. So they've lost a rider, and this team, although it's a wild card team, have been a lot in our pictures in these opening flat stages of the tour.
Well, they were very unlucky to have that accident yesterday, but there were a lot of teams, I'm sure last night, Phil, at the dinner table were talking about the bad luck that they had on the course. However, amazingly enough, the top teams like Saxo Bank and, of course, Team Astana didn't have any problems at all. And I think that's because of the time and money they invested into looking specifically at that team time trial course. They came down on a number of occasions throughout the year to have a look at it. And even Lance Armstrong, who flew across to Europe from Aspen, Colorado, just 1 week before the start of the tour, made a very important point of coming down to this team time trial course to have a look at it over 2 days.
Well, he obviously didn't do a good job, Paul. He lost by 22/100ths of a second to get the yellow jersey. I mean,
and it's amazing to think that he lost the yellow jersey. That would have been a magical fairy tale ending, but he's still got a chance when we get into the mountains.
Well, as they get themselves back together, this is Timmer here rejoining. There's the long line behind, recovering from the feeding station. Now they've got a full tummy. It's time to get on with the action and chase these boys down.
Hybrid for everyone is here. The Insight, designed and priced for us all, from Honda.
When it comes to going bald, you now have a choice. Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
It is your real hair. It's your natural hair. You wash it, you cut it, you swim with it.
Bosley is the world's most experienced hair restoration experts, having pioneered virtually every major advancement in the art and science of hair restoration.
I'm very satisfied, very happy with what I've done. This has got to be one of the best decisions I've made in my life, I'll tell you that.
Bosley Hair Restoration is a relatively simple outpatient procedure. The results look completely natural, and it's affordable on nearly any budget. Call the toll-free number now to receive your free, no-obligation information kit that will help you decide if hair restoration at Bosley is right for you. You don't have to accept going bald. Do something about it right now.
Call 1-800-480-3231. That's 1-800-480-3231. Call now. Tuesday, Versus delivers sports from soup.
Sports soup for everyone!
To nuts.
Oh, you're so full of
Sports soup and Fanarchy. Tuesday night. Oh.
Through the years, many things pass from father to son, like Aqua Velva Aftershave. Smells great, cools, firms, and tones. Cool. Aqua Velva, men get it.
Wake up your whiskers with Electric Shave.
Electric Shave!
Stands up whiskers for an up to 52% closer shave.
Man, that was close.
Electric Shave. Blade close. Electric smooth.
It's the symbol of superiority for which they all fight. But every tournament only has one champion. 2009 will take a select few to legendary heights and bring others to their knees. But they continue the fight with some fresh faces entering the fray. Because it's what they know. It's what they do best. Watch the Champions Tour all season long on Golf Channel.
Welcome back. Let me remind you of the stage which lie ahead with Bicycle Magazine stages you can't miss, because we're getting close now to the longest mountain stage of the tour, and the climb up to Arcalis plays to the strengths of riders like Cadell Evans or Lance Armstrong, and of course Alberto Contador. These are the men we might see in action looking for the next yellow jersey. Visit bicycling.com. Exclusive daily tour commentary, analysis from cycling's biggest names. Well, as we continue to see the buildings around here, let me quickly update the race with you. We've got 6 riders in the lead. The gap continues to tumble. Jeslau, Voekler, Sapa, Hucherovic, Ignatieff and Timmer are the riders who are in the lead here. We're looking here at Mikhail Ignatieff, and butting into the picture now is Albert Timmer. There's the peloton, just 4 minutes behind down the road, but it was out to almost 10, so they're coming back a long way out from the finish today. All the leaders are right in that peloton. We're expecting it to finally be a day for the sprinters, and one man who would love to be in the mix is the Belgian champion Tom Bonen. Here he is talking to Robbie Ventura.
It's been less than an ideal start for you and your Quick Step team. How do you plan on getting back on the track in the win today?
Today I think is an important journey, but we'll see. I mean, the first week wasn't, with all the circumstances, I was a little bit sick in the start. We knew it was going to be not the perfect start, but today can be an important day to make the switch and try to do a good result.
There's been a lot of controversy, or a lot of statements by the Columbia guys saying they're the only ones doing the work. They may appeal today and sit back. Will your team take the forefront and lead you out for the sprint?
Today we'll try something, but it's normal that if you have the fastest sprinter and you're the strongest team, that you have to work, and we had to take a lot of responsibility also the last few years, so it's up to them now.
Tom, a very stressful start to the tour for you, both emotionally and physically. How much did that take out of you, and how much did that deter your preparation for the tour this year?
I was pretty motivated for everything before the tour, and I trained really hard for the championship, and then the last week just before the tour was such a mess that I think that cost him a little bit to get sick, but now it's getting better day by day, and I think we'll be fine, maybe till Paris.
Beautiful. Good luck, Tom.
Thanks, man.
Well done, Tom Bonen. He's right about the sprinters teams. They've got to do all the work on days like this. We just saw Andries Kloden there get the radio. I think it was the battery they're probably changing the radio. Lost contact with the team. Another sensational photograph for you there, as we rush into the mountain, quite literally, and pop out the other side. Must be a sharp bend in there somewhere, I guess. Well, that was an interesting mole job through the mountain, Paul, as out the other side we've come, and the action clearly on. Just talking to other sprinters away from Mark Cavendish, Paul, what about Tom Bonen? I mean, he had all the problems. Let me explain very quickly that just before the tour, there was an out-of-competition check, as all of the top riders can expect, and Tom Bonen gave a positive result for cocaine. Now, Tom eventually appealed this to the Court of Arbitration. They agreed that, yes, As it was out of competition, it was not a sporting infringement, and the Tour de France couldn't stop him coming. But he never got the nod until 48 hours to go. Now that's not good for a start, Paul, but we haven't seen much of him lately, have we?
Well, I've seen him riding to the front end of the main field on this stage. He's been very unlucky not to be able to get involved in the sprints over the first two flat stages of the Tour. The first one, in fact, he moved out of the race route on the run into the finish at 700 meters to go because somebody fell off in front of him. Then, of course, we had the big attack on the next stage, stage 3, and Tom Bonen got caught out in that one as well. So I have a feeling that Bonen will be looking for some kind of revenge, Phil, on the roads of the Tour de France here this afternoon, and he has got great form because just a week before the start of the Tour de France he won himself the Belgian National Championships, and I found it quite amusing that it was the first time he'd ever won that title in his career for a man who's won the Tour of Flanders, Paris-Roubaix, and of course the World Championships as well.
He's done everything. I thought my records were wrong. I really went through all the books that night because I couldn't believe that he hadn't been the champion of Belgium before, but he is now. That's why he rides today in his black, red and yellow national flag of Belgium on his racing jersey. Well, this is the breakaway, which we've got into the ripples now. There are a couple, they're calling them cols, but they're not really steep climbs. They are more coats, which are smaller hills. And this will take us through the centre of the course, and then we'll go really down to sea level for the rest of the race. I think it's somewhere around this region now, Paul, where this breakaway will collapse.
Once we get onto the coastal road, I think, and the wind starts to become the enemy of the main field, that's when the peloton will pick up their actual pace and start to cruise down the beachfront at about 50 kilometers an hour. Then you'll see that gap of 4 minutes get wiped away, probably in the space of 20 to 25 kilometers.
There's the face of Thomas Voekler in his second Tour de France. He led it for 10 days before Lance Armstrong finally dragged the yellow jersey off his shoulders in the mountains. 4:17 at the moment. 6 riders clear. Cavendish, Hushoft, Tyler Farrar, Tom Bonen. One of those 4 should win today, but you never know. We'll find out as we get closer to Perpignan. See you in a moment.
Well, I was shopping for a new car. Which one's me? A cool convertible or an SUV? Too bad I didn't know my credit was whack, cause now I'm driving off the lot in a used subcompact. F-R-E-E, that spells free. Creditreport.com, baby. Saw their ads on my TV. Thought about going but was too lazy. Now instead of looking fly and rolling fat, my legs are sticking to the vinyl and my posse's getting laughed at. F-R-E-E, that spells free. Creditreport.com, baby.
Offer applies with enrollment and triple advantage.
My name is Derek Berge. I'm in Los Angeles, getting honked at.
Quaker State wants to know who has the world's worst commute.
74 miles, 4 hours. I have a sweaty, wet back, and it's 110 degrees. Speed limit, 65. Me, 5. My engine, not happy.
A tough commute is tough on your engine, so get an oil that goes way beyond industry standards. Quaker State bonds to metal surfaces for 2 times better wear protection. Quaker State, real, durable oil.
Hi, may I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for car insurance that isn't going to break the bank.
You're in the right place. Only Progressive gives you the option to name your price. Here.
A price gun?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell you what I want to pay.
And we build you a policy to fit your budget.
That's cool. Feel so empowered.
Power to the people. The option to name your price. New and only from Progressive. Call or click today.
Growing up in a family with my dad winning the Indy 500, you take some heat. There's really no sport like it. We're inches apart, wheel to wheel, and one touch, and you're gone. I did 19 last year, but it's kind of a crazy feeling. You got all these friends at college taking history exams, yet I'm sitting there going 230 miles an hour. It's a crazy lifestyle. That's how it goes.
The relationship you have with your car isn't so different from your other relationships. Some burn hot and fast, but don't last very long. Some burn for a while, but don't throw much heat. And some smolder beautifully for a long time.
The award-winning Cadillac CTS sedan. And coming soon, the all-new CTS Sport Wagon.
My
on eHarmony, I felt like I was meeting somebody that I already kind of knew.
At eHarmony, our in-depth questionnaire lets us get to know the real you, so we can match you with other singles on far deeper levels than other dating sites. Review all your matches for free at eHarmony.com.
Get this, free next-day delivery on major appliances at Lowe's.
So if I were to get this on Tuesday, you could deliver it...
Wednesday.
Friday?
Saturday.
Thursday.
Friday.
How about Monday?
Yeah, that's not a day, sir.
No, it's not.
Come to Lowe's first for appliances.
Well, let's remind ourselves with the Travellers American standings where all the American riders are. Armstrong is in second place now on 0 time lost since we left Monaco. Leipheimer is 31 seconds off yellow. Dave Zabriskie a minute 6. They've all done pretty well so far. Van der Velde, George Hincapie, Tyler Farrar and Danny Payton. Talking to Tyler Farrar, well, here's Robbie Ventura this morning talking with him.
Tyler, it looked like a really rough day for you yesterday. You came off the team fairly early. Is that a sign of fatigue from the first 4 days, and will you be able to respond today?
No, you know, I think it was just the guys were going so fast and there was just a bit too much climbing for me on that course. So, you know, we knew that was a possibility to happen. It was a bummer, but, you know, it would have done more damage for me for them to wait for me and hold on. So it was better to get me out of the way and they can go as fast as possible. So, you know, I still feel good, and I think for days like today, I'll be good.
The team has some guys in the overall GC contention now. Obviously, you're one of the best sprinters in the peloton. How do you divide the team up a little bit today and make sure you have the support to win?
You know, I think it complements pretty well, actually, because it's a windy day. Everyone needs to be attentive at the front. You know, we're not going to kill ourselves all day for a sprint, but you know, if everything works out and it's coming together, then we'll definitely give it a go.
With all this wind, do you think we're going to see another Columbia field split? And if that does happen, are you going to make sure you're at the front of this one?
Yeah, definitely. We won't make the same mistake twice, that's for sure.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yep.
Good luck today.
So at the moment it's Bernard Eisel doing the pacemaking on the rival Columbia HTC team. Tyler Farrar's boys are in there too, but they're not killing themselves, as he said, but they occupy second position. Another one off on the far left there, so they're keeping an eye on just what's happening at the front. The green jersey going past there of Mark Cavendish, never far away from the front on a day like today. Looking across the villages which abound here in the hillsides of the Roussillon and the Corbière. Paul, we mentioned earlier Tom Bonen's chance today. What about Tyler Farrar's?
I think he's also got a very good chance. And the two riders that you mentioned there, Phil, they've both beaten Mark Cavendish on one occasion this year. The only other man who's beaten Cavendish is not participating in the Tour de France, and that is Alessandro Petacchi. And if Cavendish makes a mistake, and every sprinter can make a mistake, he could find himself getting beaten by either of those two men.
Look at this chateau here. It's in need of renovation, but it should be. It was built in the year 1020, and it was the family it belonged to the Lords of Durban, Joseph de Gléon, and the Baron of Durban, who was the last descendant.
And they lived in that for 600 years, can you imagine?
Oh, well, they lived to quite an old age then.
Just looking here at these riders, a lot of work. They're pretty much sharing the pacemaking in this leading group. That's Thomas Voekler just going through there, and he'll be wondering whether or not he's going to survive this afternoon. I would, I think, not be too far wrong by predicting that Breakaway is not going to survive. There are too many teams feel that they've got to have a chance at trying to get themselves a sprint victory on the running down towards the finish, because once we've gone down to Barcelona, the sprinters won't have much of a chance for the next few days after that, because we'll spend 3 days dragging their bodies through the Pyrenean passes.
Just seeing the vision we're getting there of Eugenii Hutrovic, who is in the white jersey as champion of Belarus on the Française team. It's an area he loves down here because he won 2 stages of the Tour of the Mediterranean, which is down here in the month of February. So it seems to be an area he likes, and he decided to come out and have another little dig today.
Well, he won both of those stages in the sprint. In fact, he top and tailed the Tour of the Mediterranean, Phil, because he won the first day and the last day. I think the last day was in Marseille, and he crossed the line there ahead of Robbie Hunter, the South African.
That's right, he did. And poor Robbie not here, his team not selected for the Tour, which is a bit frustrating for him, I would think. Well, the jaw well set there in the face of Thomas Voekler. Happy to push on. He's a breakaway specialist. This is Adrian Albert Timmer, rather, the Dutchman on skilled Shimano. Lovely road to racing around here, and even when they're not closed, you see very little traffic. Approaching the sprint here at Saint-Jean-de-Barroux as they continue. It should be just around the corner, but we saw the first time they're not interested in sprinting, even though there's 800 euros for the winner. They're just keeping the pace high.
Well, when you sprint, when you're in a breakaway situation like this and you sprint, it breaks up the rhythm and it creates a little bit of animosity. To survive in a breakaway, you almost have to form an entente cordiale. You have to work together as a solid block of riders, and that's why quite often they won't actually go out to sprint for these points. And I think it looks very much as if the rider from Lampre here is going to get himself that 800 euros and 6 points, and that will go to Marcin Sapa, the Polish rider you were mentioning just a little bit earlier on. But not too far away from here, they will start those 2 climbs. I think, in fact, once they leave the town here, they will start the ascent of the Col de Fouilla.
Sapa ahead of Geslin as they complete the line up there. The third rider going through was Mikhail Ignatiev. And there is, oh, they said it was Thomas Voekler went through in third place. I think, oh, that's the first sprint. I beg your pardon. That's the first sprint. There's the point standings at the moment. Sapa, Geslin, Ignatiev with the order over the second sprint. In the points race, let me remind you that Cavendish in 2 wins has got 70 points and keeps in the lead in the green jersey competition, which his main aim of being here is to win stages. But if you like, by default, he could become the first British rider to win the green jersey, because if he wins again... Oh, there's been a bit of a shunt here, Paul, a little bit of a problem as we're looking here, and the rider in trouble is Stéphane Auger, one of the older riders in the race, and again a Lotto rider. It looks like it's Staff Shearlings, the rider who was dropped in the team time trial yesterday. Well, it looks as though Cadel Evans is silenced Lotto team and not having a good tour at all. Bad luck combining it with not such a strong team. It always seems to go together, doesn't it?
And this very often happens when you're on these stages without the hammer being down completely and utterly. Riders tend to relax a fraction, and somebody touches a wheel of the rider in front, and very quickly you can be on the ground. But I think for Staff Shearlings, fortunately for him, Phil, he actually crashed over to the left-hand side of the road and he got himself a reasonably soft landing.
Well, in the distance you can see the vehicle disappearing, but they've stopped the convoy while the riders fell. So here comes the convoy now. A little bit of a help is at hand. All referees look the other way.
They're bowling along here, Phil, on the flatter part of the course before we pop over the top of these 2 climbs and then down to the Mediterranean again.
See, you just have to be so vigilant in any stage of a bicycle race, not just the Tour de France. We continue to look for the others as the 6 riders stay clear of the field, the ups and downs of the Tour.
The longer you keep your high-mileage car, the more it pays you back. Get Castrol GTX High Mileage. It helps engines last longer by fighting the main causes of engine failure. Don't change your car, change your oil to Castrol GTX High Mileage. It's more than just oil. It's liquid engineering.
At TireRack.com, we stock more tires than anyone else, anywhere. Nearly 1 million tires. But we don't just stock them, we test them. And we post user reviews so you can find which tires are the best for you and your car. One more way, Tire Rack is revolutionizing the way you buy tires. Right now, when you buy a set of 4 select BF Goodrich tires, get a $50 Visa prepaid card. For details, go to TireRack.com/TV. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Right now, all over the country, Discover Card customers are getting 5% cashback bonus at the pump. Now more than ever, it pays to discover.
If you're driving a car that's under 15 years old with less than 200,000 miles, stay tuned to learn how you can save thousands of dollars on car repairs with an extended warranty from U.S. Fidelis. This is not the same warranty car dealers offer. It's better, costs less, and it's customized just for you. You pick your own coverage amount, deductible, and payment plan. You even pick the repair shop. And we pick up the bill. And we'll pay the shop directly. So you don't have to pay up front, then wait to be reimbursed. How much can you save? Plenty. It cost almost $1,300 to repair an air conditioner condenser, but the owner didn't pay a cent. U.S. Fidelis covered it 100%. It cost over $3,700 to replace a transmission, and U.S. Fidelis paid it all. The choice is yours. You can pay your repair bills yourself, or you can let us pay them for you. To find out more, call 1-800-367-3985 for a free 5-minute quote. That's 1-800-367-3985. 1-800-367-3985. Call now.
Welcome back. The Peloton themselves now approaching Saint-Jean-de-Barru. They call the locals here Saint-Jean-A. And they're just not going to be at all interested in the sprint right now. Kurt Attel Arvesen is the rider far left of our picture in the Norwegian flagged jersey. They go under the sprint point as the Norwegian flag flies proudly on the... Oh, what on earth has happened at the back of the race? Well, this is right at the back of the peloton at 25 metres before the sprint line. Now, Matthew Lloyd is the silenced Lotto rider. Stefan Guber getting back on his bike, the oldest man in the race. It looks like Bernard Eisel here, who's also had a bit of a tumble for Team Columbia HTC. Well, when the road gets narrow, you've got to make yourself a bit more room. Poor Matthew Lloyd here, last year's champion of Australia, just coming back from injury, first Tour de France. And Silence Lotto are not having a happy tour right now. This is another crash. Steph Shearling fell about 5k back. Now I think we may be going up towards the leaders as they continue to course on, unaware, still hanging on to a reasonable lead, 3:25. I think there was that big flurry chased down to a very manageable gap, and now they're just holding them. Continuing on the climb of the Col de Fuy. And watch out for that boy in blue at the front. He's just like to nip out and snatch the 3 points available at the top for the polka dot jersey competition. Thomas Voekler. I'm hearing on race radio the boys are all getting back into the field after that crash as well, so that's good news. Now as we go up the climb here, Paul, it's not a hard climb, but I would suspect we can expect to see Thomas Voekler have a little stab for the 3 points.
I think that is definitely in the back of his mind, Phil, because he knows that in the early stages of the Tour de France there's always a little bit of glory that can be garnered from leading one of the competitions, and very often that's an easy competition to lead before we get into the big mountains. He won't be able to take the overall lead today, but he may well lay the foundations of trying to grab hold of that lead tomorrow from the young man from Finland, Jussi Vaikkonen, who's been leading that since stage 2. Rolling along, and they are still looking at around about 3.5 minutes to pull back the 6 leaders who are not too far away from the summit of the climb now. I'd make them at around about 500 meters. Voekler is on the front. He's doing most of the pacemaking, but watch out for Huterovic, because it's his teammate who leads this competition. He may well try and nick the points away from Thomas Voekler. That's right, and they've got Jeslan also the same. They've got 2 members of Française des Jeux, and they're not going to let Voekler get it. That'll spoil the party. Here goes Huterovic. But better watch out, because that sapper of Poland, the Lamprey boy, decided to go. He hasn't scored any points so far. Jeslan is trying to repair the damage here and nip round him and take the 3 points. Sapper, I think, has gone a bit too early. So that's a job well done for the team. That'll keep Jussi Vaikkonen in the polka dot jersey for another day. No Finnish cyclist until this year has ever worn the leader's jersey in the Tour de France. And so he's taken maximum points away there from Sapper. Well, the reason for trying to do that was to prevent anybody else from getting points in the King of the Mountains classification, because obviously Française des Jeux, who Anthony Jeslan rides for, his teammate Vaikkonen is the leader of that competition, and they want to prevent anybody else from trying to get close to their teammate in that competition, just eating away and nicking those points away from Mikhail Ignatiev. So as they continue the way down the hill, I think it might have been Ignatiev, actually. It was Kachusa, wasn't it? It wasn't Lamprey that came up behind him.
They drop away on the narrow roads, and it won't be long before they start to climb the second climb of the day, another couple of K, and then that's the end of the ripples out on the hillsides. We then dive down to the Mediterranean and follow the coast road south of Perpignan, having to repair the damage done by the sprint for the finish there.
We'll look at one more climb, and that comes in around about 7 kilometers time, the Côte de Tray. Again, it's not a very difficult climb. It's a 4th category climb. Not a lot of points available on the early stages for those kind of climbs. It's really the big mountain passes where the king of the mountains lays his foundations for the victory.
That's Hučević has gone to the back here now, just to wait to see if they bring them all back. They bring them all back, and there's an indication of just how strong this wind is. And at the moment, it's a cross-tailwind just now. Anyway, let me tell you about something rather special this year, something different, that's for sure, during this year's tour, when Versus will bring you Bob Roll's motion comic, Adventures from the Epic Cycle, and the action unfolds exclusively on Versus.com and Versus On Demand. Here's a quick look at episode 5.
The legends, Jacques Anquetil, the first 5-time tour winner, Eddie Merckx, the Cannibal, Bernard Hinault, the Badger, Miguel Indurain, Big Mig, and Lance Armstrong. Will he make history once again, or will a new legend emerge?
Well, you can watch the entire series unfold on Versus.com and Versus On Demand. It's quite different. That's only the short version, believe me. Bob Roll cannot do things short, so you must go and look at the whole thing. Let's have a look at the results of the climb. It was Ignatiev in 2nd place. Geslam as the winner. Voekler got the 3rd place sprint, which means that overall, Voekler, the teammate of Geslam, you see, keeps his lead. He's got 3 points advantage over Kuntekoor, Tony Martin, Dessel and Bouet. None of those guys scoring points today. Astana creeping up again. Maybe they've seen those flags standing out and feeling the force of the wind again. Shades perhaps of a couple of days ago when they came up on the same side of our picture. Moments later the race had split and 25 guys were in the lead, racing for the finish, including Armstrong. Interesting. Beautiful scenery. Who'd want to ride a bike in this country?
It's right here. It's easy. It's the money you could be saving with Geico. It's right here. It's easy. It's the money you could be saving with Geico.
Wow. My bike? Alberto's bike? Lance's bike? Wow.
Wow, sweet minivan. Woo.
That's minivan A to you.
It's raining! With the great taste of a McDonald's McCafe Mocha, a better day is possible. Freshly ground espresso, real steamed milk, and decadent chocolate. Go ahead, McCafe your day.
Hamels looks toward home. The pitch. He walks him.
Come on, Cole. Keep pounding the corner. Didn't we chase one outside? Who are you?
Oh, Dad.
Oh, no.
Wearing the same cap the pros wear doesn't mean you're one. New era. Make the majors or buy one at the store.
With my bike. Yo necesito mi bicicleta para el tour. With Lance's bike. With Levi's bike. Wow.
Tuesday, Versus delivers sports from soup.
Sports soup for everyone!
To nuts. First at 11. No one in the sports world can hide from Sports Soup's Matt Eisman.
Then, pride and passion mix with a dose of insanity when the fans take over on Fanarchy.
I'm gonna eat this cat.
Sports Soup and Fanarchy, Tuesday night, only on Versus.
Welcome back, and just in time, because this is a sprint for the top of the second climb of the day. It's not really a steep climb, the Côte de Tri. And Thomas Voekler, is he going to get it? Yes, it's just about. Jeslan gets second place, and Jeslan none too happy about that because he doesn't see why Thomas has done that. Well, he's on a rival team, that's why he's done it. Now they're going to have a little argument now. Anthony Jeslan in second place because it's his teammate Vaken who is leading. The conversation goes on here. Well, at least they can speak the same language. I suppose that's a bonus out on the road. There's the Katusha rider, Ignatiev, probably got third place, followed by Albert Timmer. And at the back here, Hutrovic and Sapa. The same 6 riders have been away since around about 12 kilometers into the race today. Well, as we saw, as we came into this section, the team time trial was won yesterday by Team Astana. They were followed all the way around by their team manager. And, you know, it plays a very important part. They actually are the real leaders of the team, in fact, because they guide them around the route, talking to them on race radios. That's Rolf Aldog on the left, and Brian Holm, the team manager, on the right. Between them, I think they rode 20 Tours de France, so then they still look pretty fit, don't they? Anyway, they're the boys in charge now, and so let's learn a little bit more about what the job is of the race director of a big team in the Tour de France.
You know, number one, the team car there is for support of the riders, you know, both mechanically and physically with water, drinks, and food.
All the spare equipment is inside the team car, so it's basically it's a rolling pit stop.
Team car is always behind the peloton. We have one mechanic in the back seat. He's always ready to go if they have a puncture or something happens with their chain.
Those directors, they have the feeling those are my kids and I have to take care of them, you know, I really have to protect them. And if they know there's a 20-kilometer downhill in the rain and he needs his rain jacket, he probably runs over everything just to make sure he's right there.
Normally the director's an ex-professional that raced, you know, some Grand Tours, some classics, and he knows a lot of the routes. He knows, like, who the good riders are, and he makes the tactics. You know, number two is to give the riders information. So a lot of times they can give us educated guesses and educated calls on what we should do in the race.
It's a mobile tactical staging point. All of the information is coming back and forth between the riders and the director in the car. We have a television if the race is on live so that the director can see the race from the front view and can convey any information that he's getting up to the riders and also instruct them on what the general strategy or the finite tactics of the moment might be.
You're racing against other teams and they also have 1 or 2 guys and they want to attack you.
The big tactical decisions, they have to be done by the car. What you should never do is, like, if you start really yelling at the microphone, if you really start, you know, bringing emotions that if it goes wrong or something, disappointment, that's not so helpful.
He's a motivating force for me, but at the same time, he's a lot of times the guy that says, just relax. Just relax.
Super ride, mate. Just nice and relaxed on this climb. You've done it before.
He's almost like a big brother, just kind of like the guy who has the experience, who's been there, done that.
Try to keep him relaxed, too. He looks a little nervous today, you know? Yeah. Try to...
I think Jonathan Vaughters there was just as nervous as the riders. Now the organisers of the Tour de France, as the peloton go over the top of the climb, no sprint from here. 4:13 is the gap. Yes, as I was saying, the organisers of the Tour de France are having an experiment this year. 2 days, in fact, they're going to ban the use of the race radios just to see what, if any, effect it will have on the Tour de France. As we look out across the field here, and that'll be interesting. Wow, that was a controversial place to park the car, and that's most unusual on the Tour de France, but the riders have got round it okay. as Cancello's aired. Now, as I was just saying about the banning of the radios, now the big question here, and a chance for you to give us your opinion. Do you agree with the race organisers' decision to eliminate the team director's communications to the riders on stages 10 and 13, which are on the 14th and 17th of July? Simply give us a yes or a no and cast your vote at the website versus.com. I'll be most interested to see what you think. I must say that some are for, some are against, because some say the riders should be able to think for themselves, others say it's a matter of safety. So this is the Geico.com. This is our car cam inside the team car today of Team Columbia HTC, and we've got a crash straight away, and we switch to it. And this is again more problems here as we look here at Robert Gesink. Well, this is Gesink, Paul, in his first Tour de France, and amongst the riders we expect to see piercing the air first in the mountains. He's a good climber, but he's been caught out on these narrow roads there. And you saw that precariously placed car at the top on the right that came down the hill there, which I couldn't believe, because the Tour de France is so good at getting vehicles out of the way.
Yes, I was very surprised to see that car there, but this is again a reason why you have to ride at the front end of the main field. You might have noticed riders like Fabian Cancellara and the other guys coming up to the front, Phil, and the reason for that is you reduce the chance of being involved in an accident if you're riding in the first 10 to 15 places, because you can see a lot more, whereas at the back you're subjected to other people's change in direction.
He's a little bit concerned about his left shoulder here, and the team car's up. It's either his shoulder or his wrist, I'm not sure, but he's certainly not putting him any pressure on it. This is not looking terribly good just now. The team car's there to try and get him back to the race, and once they're back to the race, of course, they can deliver him to the doctor's car, which is the second car in the race. But he started to bleed on that left elbow as well, so it certainly hurt him. Let's hope this isn't a problem, because Robert is a rider we're all very interested to see how he really does go. Now, team have been called back to help him. You see one rider's in front waiting for him. Other teams will come back. Now, this only happens when you're a protected rider on your team. You'll bring teammates back to try and get you quickly back into the field. Here comes the team to link up to him and pull him back.
Well, they've all stopped, and such is the importance of this man. He finished 4th overall in the Dauphiné Libéré race, which is a race regarded by many as a pointer to the Tour de France, and his teammates have dropped back to help and encourage him into the main field. He really did hurt himself quite a bit there, Phil. He keeps taking his hands off the handlebars, and I wonder if that's an injury to the wrist at all there. The team car coming forward there from Team Katusha, and they need to let them by there, because that will get the convoy back together and give them a slight chance of getting back into the main field.
Let's hope he gets back here. But he's only 23 years of age. He's in his first Tour de France. We talk about him again as being a big star of the future. There's the American and the British flag on the same flagpole there, flying above the race, and that's support Mark Cavendish, who races for the American team, which is Columbia HTC out of San Luis Obispo in California. The peloton goes on. Gesink, I hope, gets back very quickly indeed.
Oh, Katie kicked off the conference call.
But we missed the first half trying to download the docs.
It's turned out to be the old new docs rather than the new docs. And bobbed out in from home, and his
dog starts barking.
So Jen jumped in with her 2 cents.
Which Katie missed because she was buying shoes online.
Then I hit mute to talk timelines with my team.
Getting lots of dirty looks through the phone in the process.
Overall,
a great call. Great call.
Yeah.
Introducing a better way. Learn more at cisco.com/newways.
Let's all paint the town red and white, black and brown. Watch the colors dry. They mix so well, it's no surprise. We are all in this together. Let's all build a home, gather up the friends you know. Somewhere we can go. We'll make it.
The hybrid for everyone is here. The Insight, designed and priced for us all, from Honda.
There is a school like no other school in the world. Avionics in the morning, training in the afternoon, computer programming in the evening, and along the way, Leadership 101. And on the day that your studies here draw to an end, and the commander looks you in the eye and salutes you, it will be with the knowledge that he is only the first of many who will do so. There's strong, then there's Army strong. To see strength like no other, go to GoArmy.com.
Through the years, many things pass from father to son, like Aqua Velva Aftershave. Smells great, cools, firms, and tones. Cool. Aqua Velva, men get it.
Wake up your whiskers with Electric Shave. Electric Shave! Stands up whiskers for an up to 52% closer shave.
Man, that was close.
Electric Shave. Blade close. Electric smooth.
Hey, I'm Jake of Body by Jake and founder of Exercise TV. It's time to make the commitment to lose weight and get fit. That's why I created Exercise TV, to give you access to the best workouts from the best fitness trainers. Exercise TV delivers hundreds of workouts every month, so you'll never get bored. If you have digital cable, it's free on demand. And now, Exercise TV takes fitness online with exercisetv.tv, where you can get free workouts, downloads, and exclusive exercise tips. Make the commitment. Your workout is waiting.
Back with the fifth stage of the Tour de France. Just looking here, Fabien Cancellara is in the yellow, but by only 22/100ths of a second over Lance Armstrong, so it's the same time for all intents and purpose. Contador is third, Andreas Kloden is fourth, and Levi Leipheimer is fifth. They are all on Team Astana. Well, down at the start this morning, Frankie Andreu found Lance Armstrong.
Lance, your team did a great ride in the team time trial. You practically have one sleeve of the yellow jersey on your shoulders. Flat days coming up, mountain days coming up. What's your strategy over the next couple days?
Well, I think these are tricky days. If you look around, it's the flags are. I'm looking over there. They're standing up, and that means only one thing. And so we have to be careful. We have to try to stay protected. Try to predict what's going to happen up the road. But what happened 2 days ago with the breakaway and that selection, that can easily happen again. So just have to try and avoid that.
You talked about it difficult making a comeback to the Tour de France. The first few stages have been more difficult. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what you commented?
No, I think the thing is that the break away, the 3 or 3.5 years or 4 years, whatever, has been harder than I expected. I don't feel old, so to speak, but the time away, time out of competition, that race intensity, you can't replicate in any kind of training. So that's been harder to get up to speed on. But I think on the contrary, the first few days of the tour have been fairly comfortable. I think up to this point, it's been tough. Also the crash didn't happen, or didn't help. That set things back. But
right now, Astana, you guys are comfortably in the front of the general classification. Some riders who thought they were going to have a chance to win the Tour are nowhere. Who specifically do you think has almost no chance of winning the Tour now, and they should perhaps change their goals?
Yeah, I'm not naming any names. They, I think we still have to look to the names that we talked about before. Even if a guy like Menshoff, for example, is 4 minutes down, you got to be careful with that. And this will be a process of selection over the course of these 3 weeks, especially the last week. One day, when some guy loses 2 or 3 minutes, the next day it's the next guy, and then you get to Ventoux and you got a bunch of guys in the race. So that can easily happen as well. But that's the thing about the TTT, is it really it's an event that people love, but in a lot of ways it kind of sets the tone of the race very early on.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Yes, well, it's certainly done that so far, but this isn't the team time trial being replayed here. This is the chase back by Robert Gessing, who has just crashed. See the yellow writing down there? Well, that's the chalk block here, and I can tell you more about that right now, because a lot of those slogans down there are from you. Now, don't forget to go to weareyellow.com, and you can write your message of hope and inspiration, and if yours is selected, it could be right down there on the streets of the Tour de France tomorrow, so enjoy that. That is weareyellow.com. It's the chalkbot Nike for the Livestrong support for cancer. Well, it's been a tough ride here, but help is at hand, and I hope they can get them back into the pack as quickly as possible. This is Grisha Nierman, who's just slipped to the back. Well, just looking at these three riders in team time trial formation, Paul, let's think back briefly to the team time trial yesterday with Lance Armstrong even though a lot of big names, including Gessing's teammate Menchoff, now nearly 4 minutes back, Armstrong doesn't discount him, though, as still a challenger.
Well, you know, Armstrong is a very clever, canny rider. He knows exactly who can be dangerous, and he knows that anything can happen in the Tour de France, and he's seen almost every scenario present itself. That's why you have to be attentive. If you're not riding at the front on a day like this and the race splits, you can lose 4 minutes in the blink of an eye.
It's true. Well, the action on today's stage of the Tour de France, 67 kilometres from the finish. The peloton are now beginning to move. They're going to drop onto the shores of the Mediterranean for much of the route now as they go away. And they're still chasing 6 riders. They're giving them a good run for the money. At one stage, it looked as though they were going to wheel them in. But it's only just started to reverse again now. Just inside 3.5 minutes. The gap. The men up front, Anthony Geslin, Thomas Voekler, Marcin Sapper, Eugenii Hucherevic, Mikhail Ignatiev and Albert Timmer. They've been away virtually from the 12th kilometre. As we look here at the beautiful lake, I missed the name, but I think it was the Liggett.
The lake of the Liggett, and just over to the left-hand side of the riders is the Gulf of the Lion, and that's in the Mediterranean. There are a lot of nervous men at the front end of this field, Phil. They're casting their minds back 48 hours to when the peloton actually split to pieces because of the pressure of the wind. That's Tony Martin on the front. He's the leader of the Young Jersey competition, and he's the youngest rider in Team Columbia.
Yes, well, Astana looking to be becoming quite angry. This is an interesting change of tactics, isn't it? Astana racing like this at the front. After those 6 riders, 3:21 is the gap. It might be coming down a little bit quicker than we thought now that the mountains are behind the riders. We might see the bunch coming together a long time before the finish. Guessing just about back in the pack. Well done, Robert. Tough in the Tour de France, isn't it?
My name is Wes Birmingham, Atlanta, Georgia.
Quaker State wants to know who has the world's worst commute.
We got construction on 75, 285, I-20, 30 miles, 2 hours. There's nothing I love about traffic. Nothing. Gotta be killing my engine.
A tough commute is tough on your engine, so get an oil that goes way beyond industry standards. Quaker State bonds to metal surfaces for 2 times better wear protection. Quaker State, real, durable oil.
If you plan on building, furnishing, or remodeling your home, or you're just tired of paying retail, don't spend another dollar. Now, you can enjoy an incredible selection of top-quality, name-brand products priced up to 50% less than retail. Take the first step towards saving hundreds or even thousands of dollars on nearly anything for your home. Call for your free Direct Buy Insider's Guide to Buying Direct and learn what retailers don't want you to know. Each full-color page of the Insider's Guide is packed with powerful information. Discover some of the hundreds of thousands of products available from over 700 name brand manufacturers. Everything, including furniture, cabinets, appliances, flooring, lighting fixtures, and so much more, all without retail markups. At Direct Buy, you can't afford to miss this valuable opportunity. Call the number on your screen now to get your own Direct Buy Insider's Guide. You'll also receive a visitor's pass and map to the Direct Buy showroom nearest you. The sooner you call, the sooner you'll be buying direct. So call now.
Tuesday, Versus delivers sports from soup to nuts.
It's faster, it's harder, it's stronger. You need juice!
First at 11, no one in the sports world can hide from Sports Soup's Matt Eisman.
Do you plan on playing in the NFL next year?
Maybe.
Can't waffle on that.
Then,
save it for your mama.
Pride and passion mixed with a dose of insanity when the fans take over on Fanarchy.
I'm gonna eat this cat.
Sports Soup and Fanarchy. Tuesday night, only on Versus.
Going to bars and going to clubs, that really is a passive way of meeting people. eHarmony really is an active thing.
It's I'm ready, I want this. eHarmony is a tool in that choice.
eHarmony.com. Review all your matches for free.
FreeCreditReport.com. Tell your friends, tell your dad, tell your mom. Never mind, they've been singing our songs since we first showed up with our pirate hats on. If you're not into fake sword fights, pointy slippers and green wool tights, take a tip from a knight who knows. FreeCreditReport.com. Offer applies with enrollment and triple advantage.
Finding a great low rate on auto insurance in today's tough economy doesn't have to be a perilous journey into the unknown. Just call the General right now for an instant quote. You'll get a great low rate, a low monthly payment, and a down payment as low as $59. Don't get caught driving uninsured or paying more for insurance than you need. Call or log on to the General now for immediate proof of insurance.
For the best car insurance rates in town, call 1-800-GENERAL now.
don't forget the Tour de France on Versus. It is the most epic race, and head to Versus.com for live updates, fan chat, rider info, and even Lance Armstrong's video blog. For time trials to the grueling climb up Mont Ventoux, Versus.com has you covered for the Tour's total interactive experience. Yes, the Tour de France at Versus.com. Well, I tell you what, there's big trouble out there at the moment for Robert Gesink. He's not making any progress. He's being left in no man's land. He's got two teammates with him. Grisha Niemann and Joost Postuma have been sent back, but there's still a lot of work to be done. The cars one by one are being sent around the three riders. As the gap now comes down to 2 minutes and 56 seconds, this is now beginning to crumble very rapidly. Oh dear me, well, why not? Spartacus himself is on the front now. Fabian Cancellara, they decided, for whatever the reason, to crack this race. They are now hitting speeds of 60 to 65 kilometers an hour here. So, as they continue to ride on, well, we very often say, it's our old famous cliche, today you can't win the Tour de France, but make a mistake and you'll lose it, and that could be at the moment. I don't want to wish him bad in this opening week. Could be the situation with Robert Gesink. He chose the wrong time to fall off. There is the riders' echelon forming at the front now, those individual diagonal lines to get the most out of the wind. And look at this, when this man starts going. So as Fabian Cancellara drives on now, it gives us a chance to take you for our Travelers Tour insight as Cancellara drives the Tour onwards.
You cannot win the Tour in the first week, but you can lose them. Every year they're going to say this.
The first week is the classic every day. The weather is typically not great. Get a lot of rain, a lot of wind, a lot of nerves. Every little thing becomes an issue.
You're walking on eggshells, you're walking that tightrope. The first week is filled with pitfalls, crashes.
Oh, there's been a crash and a major pile of this. That's always going to happen when you've got a sweeping bend.
Extremely nervous racing. Everyone's fresh, everyone's extremely fit. They're at their best. It's the best Peloton in the world, and everyone who wants to be in the same place, and that's in the front.
Now we've just got sprinters staying at the front, you've got the GC riders staying at the front, you've got climbers staying at the front, but yeah, it's good, you just got to make sure you're at the front.
Every stage you have to be focused. You can lose time by a sprint finish, you can lose time by an accident flat tire. In the uphill stages, I mean, there you're strong. When you're strong, you're in front, but here you can easily lose 30 seconds, and that's maybe really, really bad for the end of the overall.
It can kill a lot of the pure climbers. They just don't recover from it.
It's a crisis. It's like, oh, Jesus, how am I going to make it through this? And I'm afraid I'm going to... Oh, you're always afraid you're going to fall off.
You know, everyone's nervous, obviously. To win a stage at Tour de France is one of the biggest things you can do in cycling. And, you know, obviously the first week everybody's fresh, so everybody thinks they're in with a chance.
You need to be extremely attentive, and it takes a lot of energy to stay out of trouble and keep your chances of winning alive.
Yes, and that's your Travelers Tour insight, and this first week is proving to be quite problematical now. We've just seen Fabian Cancellara drive at the front while Bonen's in the spot of bother now as he tries to rejoin. Look at that. The peloton has ripped itself apart again with the wind. As we look down there now, Paul, with the peloton ripped like this, 100-meter gap, well, we didn't think it would cause quite so much damage, but the wind down here is so much stronger than 2 days ago. This is serious.
Well, it's completely and utterly shattered the main field. They're slowing up a fraction there, but Armstrong is in the front group. I've noticed him being very present in the front end of this main field, but look at how many groups the race is split up into. And one man has had a little bit of bad luck there because Tom Bonen has just had a
flat tire, changed it pretty quickly. But what's going to happen, Phil, when he gets back to the main field, he'll be in group number 3 or 4 on the road.
And will Guessing even get back to group number 3 or 4? Remember, he's the rider who fell off. His 2 teammates are with him, and just when he was making progress, this has happened. Stuart O'Grady, centre with the white helmet on there, is driving. He's an expert at this. Cancellara in yellow, the strong man on a flat road. There's no one stronger than he is. Jens Voigt is here, licking his lips, taking a drink at the moment. Tony Martin is here, so his high place overall. Michael Rogers is up there. These are the strong men. They've been handed another chance to gain time.
That's what it's all about, and even though you might think the decisions in the Tour de France are only made in the mountains, on this occasion it is very difficult to ride in a crosswind because you have to try and get shelter from the wind at a 45-degree angle behind the rider in front of you. But once you get the full wind in your face, you can get popped out of the back like nothing.
But the wind is coming at the moment from the right of the picture, blowing across the riders, and that's the biggest damage they can do. The crosswinds are the fear of the weakest men, but they are loved by the strong men. Tom Bonen, with his new back tyres, shown his strength today. He's got to the back of this group. He can't wait long. He's got to take a few deep breaths and organise a chase, because that group in the front looks close. You try and cross the gap.
It's almost impossible to cross a gap like that on your own. You have to hope that this group that you're with starts to get themselves organised, or this group here starts to slow down. They will start to have a look around to see if anybody has missed out. Armstrong there, very comfortable in this kind of situation. He said at the start of the year when he came back to the sport, Phil, he was a little bit scared riding in the bunch, but all of a sudden that comfort of riding in the mass field came back when he rode the Giro d'Italia in the month of May.
There go the 6 leaders now, barely 2 minutes ahead of a charging peloton. Geslan is still behind the race. Not Geslan, beg your pardon. Guessing is still behind the race. Well, round the lake here, suddenly the Tour de France has become on fire again. Well, there's plenty of water to put the fire out, but I have a feeling at the moment, Paul, we are in a very serious race situation. We need to assess who is in that front group. Well, this is an exciting section of the race as they now step on the gasworks. Andreas Kloden is up here, Popovic is up here. And there is Andy Schleck. He hasn't missed out on this one. Look at those flags. It will bend the flagpole here. That second group, the camel foreshortens the distance. These boys are scrabbling for life. With the green band on his jersey is Nicholas Roach, as this is Stephen Roach's son here, trying to get back on terms. Well, we have to take a commercial break, but it won't be caught by the time you get back. This man has caused all the problems again. Poor old Guessing.
TireRack.com, we don't just sell tires, we test them on our unique test track. Our results are honest, unbiased, and as real as it gets. Use this information to help decide which tires are right for you, your vehicle, how you drive it, and where you drive it. It's not just a test track, it's truth serum for tires. And it's only a Tire Rack, the Tire Rack Test Track. One more way, Tire Rack is revolutionizing the way you buy tires. TireRack.com, research, buy, deliver, install.
Oh, hi! Welcome to Progressive.com. Are you all right?
A ferocious white whale wrecked my boat.
Well, I'm sure we can help you, Captain
Ahab.
Well, it looks like you haven't had a claim in over 4 years, so you don't have to pay a deductible. That means you saved $500.
$500? I could get an electronic fish finder.
That's the spirit.
Saving you money on boat insurance. Now that's Progressive. Call or click today.
What gets you out running, walking, or doing what you really love to do? You have your own motivations for being out there. Enjoy every second. The Boulder Running Company has what you need to make your experience even better. From free video gait analysis, to a huge casual shoe selection, to apparel and accessories. The Boulder Running Company. Boulder, Denver, Colorado Springs, and online at boulderrunningcompany.com.
Through the years, many things pass from father to son, like Aqua Velva Aftershave. Smells great, cools, firms, and tones. Cool. Aqua Velva, men get it.
Wake
Wake up your whiskers with Electric Shave.
Electric Shave!
Stands up whiskers for an up to 52% closer shave.
Man, that was close.
Electric Shave. Blade close. Electric smooth.
Growing up in a family with my dad winning the Indy 500, you take some heat. There's really no sport like it. We're inches apart, wheel to wheel, and one touch, and you're gone. It's a crazy lifestyle. That's how it goes.
It's gotta be a new race!
Welcome back. We're in the south of France, and you'll all agree the Tour de France is the most epic race ever. It continues tomorrow right here on Versus. Stage number 6 will take us from Girona in Spain to Barcelona, live 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The next day we'll go from Barcelona into the Pyrenees, into a different country, Andorra, as we climb Arcolis. That is 8 a.m. different time, Eastern Time. Let's get back to the action, everyone. It is another extraordinary day on what should be a routine flat stage in the Tour de France. It was all started by Fabian Cancellara. He has torn this field into tatters, and now they're trying to catch the leaders. Well, the leaders will wonder what happened, Paul. They've got just on 90 seconds their advantage now. They were almost 10 minutes. It's because they're big leaders of the Tour de France have hit hard at the front. We think they've only left one of the possible stars behind in Oscar Pereira, the winner in 2006.
Well, I did notice in that second group on the road there, Phil, there was a very tall, slim Astana rider, and I wonder whether that was Alberto Contador, and I'm not completely sure because I only saw him from about 1,500 meters in the helicopter.
Well, I would have thought if it was, then we'd see the Astana boys in this race dangling around the back of the chase, keeping hope that he would come across, but we'll certainly check on that, absolutely. Just look to the peloton below. They're not quite the head of the race yet, but they're bringing those leaders in quick. That has a chance of getting back. If we get a wind directional change, they might bridge the gap. That's a select little chase group in full echelon formation, indicating the wind is coming bottom left of your picture and ripping right across from 7 o'clock to 1 o'clock.
Well, that's the second group of the main field. This is the first group on the road. Then there's a group behind which is contains most of the major contenders. A third group. Then there's a fourth group behind that contains the sprinter Tom Bonen. And then way off the back of the group is a three-man group with the 3 riders from Rabobank, including Robert Gesink, that young man who had that very nasty tumble on the descent.
There's no way that Gesink will get back unless the field slows down now. He's going to lose big time and probably his real crack at a good finish in the Tour de France, I'm afraid. That's the way it happens. It happens so quickly. The 6 leaders here are coming into the last 53 kilometers of racing today. The gap, they're doing well to hold them off, but they are holding them at 1:34. At the moment, Gesink is 2 minutes 40 seconds back from the leaders, so he's less than a minute behind the tail of the peloton, so he might get back.
Well, there's Alberto Contador.
Now, where is he in the group? Yes, he's in the group, so he's safe. There's Lance and everybody.
Right on the wheel of Lance Armstrong. Armstrong looking very concentrated here. Just behind the two of them is George Hincapie. Alberto Contador is not going to make the same mistake twice, Phil, as he made just a couple of days ago when he missed out on the split when Armstrong leapfrogged him in the overall classification. Now, I think this team, despite what has been said in the press, I think this team have got together and decided that they are going to ride as a solid block, and they won't make a decision on who's going to be the leader of this team until we get up into the mountains. And I think Armstrong knows that Alberto Contador is a very good climber.
Well, the press is famous for being controversial. It'd be no good if he told us everything good news, is it? So we've got to cause trouble to get people to buy papers. I believe that there's nothing wrong with this team. And as Johan Brunel said, yes, I know who the leader is. Me. I'm the manager of the team.
Well, he is the boss, and he's the man who will bang on the table when need be. Just leaving the small town there, Phil, of Liggett Plage behind them, and still they will continue to be buffeted by the wind on the run down to the finish before they finally turn into land to go up to the finish in Perpignan. That's when they will pick up a very rapid tailwind. That's the last group with Tom Bonen in it.
Where we are now, Paul, it's worth remembering right now, this is where the 13th edition of the Mondial du Vent, which is the World Wind Championships, were held. Well, we've got another championship on now, and the wind is playing its part as well. This is the third group on the road, and you see the tough part is the right-hand tail, because they've got no echelon. They're getting the full force of the wind ripping at their right side, whereas the boys in the echelon can hide behind one another.
Seems to be calming down a fraction now, Phil. They're getting organised. That's an indication the wind is not ideal for splitting the peloton. And you can see at 50 to 55 kilometres an hour, it's very difficult to stay off the front end of this field.
25 miles an hour, the wind field today, which is 40 kilometres an hour. But these boys look as though they're coming closer, getting slowly but surely. And it's been really hard work, but they're closing in. Nicholas Roach might get himself back into the action here.
Looks like Popovic starting to whip it up once again. They want to keep the pressure on, but I think this group is much too big now. 1 minute and 30 seconds is the time up to the 6 riders. That's the next group on. That's the second group on the road, and a little bit further back we've still got a larger group containing 1 or 2 of the sprinters.
Well, there's the main peloton just about in the vision here. This is the group coming up containing the Irish rider Nicholas Roach, and they look as though after an incredible chase these two groups will merge. It leaves behind quite a few riders, including Robert Gessing, who did fall off. Now this is the big thing, you see. They are repairing the damage slowly but surely because the way the road is essing here. But this will have hurt a lot of riders, this chase. Fabian Cancellara was a vigilant. He caused the problems. Lance was there to give his answer.
The relationship you have with your car isn't so different from your other relationships. Some burn hot and fast, but don't last very long. Some burn for a while, but don't throw much heat. And some smolder beautifully for a long time.
Award-winning Cadillac CTS sedan. And coming soon, the all-new CTS Sport Wagon.
Stop your auto repair bills now. If you own a car with less than 250,000 miles, you can get an extended warranty that will finally stop your repair bills. Just call now or go to stoprepairbills.com. When you own a car, SUV, or truck, sooner or later it will need repair. And that can cost you thousands of dollars right out of your pocket. Just one transmission job could cost over $3 grand. A new engine could cost over $4 grand. But you won't have to pay a cent. Call now or visit stoprepairbills.com and we'll cover 100% of the costs. This isn't a dealer's warranty. It's much better and costs less. Because you only pay for the coverage you need. You even choose the repair shop. And we pay them directly so you don't wait to be reimbursed. The sooner you call, the sooner you're covered.
Call 1-800-568-0063. A free 5-minute call can save you thousands in auto repair. Call 1-800-568-0063 and stop paying repair bills now.
Get 20% more cash for your broken, unwanted, or mismatched gold jewelry. Cash for Gold, the largest volume consumer gold buyer in the USA, is on an extended buying spree. Prices are still at all-time highs, and we still can't keep up with demand. So we've raised our goal $100 million and extended our deadline. Now we're out to buy $200 million in gold by the end of summer, September 30th. Send us any unwanted, broken, or mismatched gold jewelry right now. Call for a free prepaid envelope. Fill it with the items you want to sell, send it to our secure processing center, and get ready to count your cash. And to meet our new $200 million goal, we've increased our cash payout by 20%. Cash for Gold owns its own refinery. There's no middleman, just more cash for you. And now we're paying even 20% more cash. Call before the gold rush ends September 30th.
Call 1-800-953-7993 or visit cash4gold.com.
Yes, the story so far on a very windy day in the Tour de France today. A crash to Stefan Ogier. Steph Schierling also went down. Cancellara and Saxo Bank put the hammer down at 60 to go. The head of the peloton is now only 1 minute 17 seconds behind the leaders. Well, as the field now do our lovely split at the roundabout there, I must say, Paul, we weren't quite expecting the split so early this year, today rather.
Well, I tell you, that wind was just in the right position to split the main field, and you noticed that everybody was very content to come up to the front, and all the big names like Armstrong, like Contador, like Cancellara, all of those men were right at the front end of the main field.
Now, is this the potential comeback of Guessing? I didn't. There's Guessing there. So he's still fighting hard to get back in. You can see the blood down his left knee. It's drying up in the wind now. He's been chasing for so long. He was so unlucky to fall then. Normally you get back up and rejoin, but this boy must have thought a tornado just blew in. The Trans-Montana coming roaring down the valley has stopped him regaining the race.
I'm just trying to see if he's coming back onto the group that contains Tom Bonen, or if that group as well has also managed to make themselves get into contact with the front part of the field. I think we're about to have a little truce here, Phil, for the next 4 or 5 kilometres, but
you may be lucky because the wind has changed again.
There were a lot of nervous riders in that group a few moments back.
Well, it's interesting, but during that time of driving on, Team Astana, after Cancellara started it, have done 40% of the work, Paul, which indicates just how strong this team really is as a squad.
Very nervous, and they know that the best way to not have any bad luck is to ride at the front end of the main field, and they knew exactly what could happen there, and they looked after Alberto Contador. There he is, comfortably sitting on the wheel of Lance Armstrong, looking over his shoulder. This man is probably licking his lips now, waiting to see what it's going to be like when we get into the big mountain passes, and right behind him there was Levi Leipheimer.
Well, here he comes to the tail of the peloton. Number 46 is Guessing. Tough ride for the 23-year-old in his first Tour de France. We know a lot about him. He's performed well in races like the Amgen Tour of California. He's performed well this year when he finished 4th in the Dauphiné Libéré, and that gave him the nod from Team Rabobank, say, OK, you're on for your first Tour de France. He is a very good climber, but he's thrown a lot of energy onto the road today.
Well, in fact, Guessing there, Phil, is just getting into the group of Tom Bonen. They're still looking for about 40 seconds, I think, to pull themselves back up to this group, which is the front end of the main field. There's the green jersey on the shoulders of Mark Cavendish. Starting to get a little bit nervous now, as he knows he's coming in with a crack to get himself a 3rd victory on the open road in the Tour de France, and nobody yet has been able to get one better than Cavendish in the sprint for the line.
Well, it's time to reassess the situation, I think, now. But I think the peloton, there are still a couple of pelotons. As far as we can work out, there's a group of 30 riders which comprises the last peloton on the road, and this must be it. And so Guessing is being led up by Jos Postuma, and that's just Postuma at the moment. Deliver him into that bunch, give the man a rest, because that'll make 32 riders in this group. They're riding just 1 minute behind the main field now. There's still a chance they'll get back. He can't even get back to the group, it's so fast.
Well, we're still looking at an average speed here, Phil, of pretty close to 50-55 kilometers an hour, and that's why it's difficult for these riders to get back. The race doctor now is coming up alongside him to check him out, and he couldn't really do that earlier on when they were battling in the crosswinds. He looks as if he's recovered a fraction, and there's Bonen. Bonen, in fact, has had a second flat tyre here this afternoon, and he's getting back into that group of 30.
And just look at the speed of the Bonen here, the way he's got through that group again. Boy, it's a rough life for some out there right now, isn't it? Here comes Team Astana on the left of our road. Now, don't forget to continue enjoying our game at versi.com/ride of your life. Chance to see the Tour for yourself in 2010 or win a Cervelo bike. See if you can ride it as fast as these guys. Couple of jerseys on offer as well. The word you need, the code word, is Peloton to play the game today. You need to play it every day to win. Well, this has been an amazing day in the Tour de France. I can tell you the production team here at Versis now are all experts on the Tour de France and are really enjoying the race today. And I hope you are, wherever you may be around North America. Boy, this has been a toughie today for sure. And these boys know they've been on a race. The wind just suddenly ripped them apart. Spartacus launched the attack, Fabian Cancellara, and now they've got into the habit. They won't slow down now. There's the main field. Martin Brun, his arms operating like windmills. The referee on the tour trying to keep some order here because he knows he's got a serious race on his hands and he wants a fair race. Lance Armstrong still looking for the sandwich and 22/100ths of a second.
Hamels looks toward home. The pitch. He walks him.
Come on, Cole. Keep pounding the corner. Give him a chase one outside. Who are you?
Oh, Dad.
Oh, no. Wearing the same cap the pros wear doesn't mean you're one. New era. Make the majors or buy one at the store.
The way I see it, all synthetic oils are the same.
Think with your dipstick, Jimmy.
Aren't all synthetic oils the same?
Think with your dipstick, Jimmy.
Synthetics or synthetics?
Castrol Edge. I'm going to try this.
Oh, no, that's thinking with your dipstick.
So why did you hit me?
Because you were thinking with your dipstick, Jimmy.
Think with your dipstick. Upgrade to new Castrol Edge with 8 times better wear protection than Mobil 1 5W30. It's more than just oil. It's liquid engineering.
The latest Turtle Wax breakthrough in car polish is Clear. Crystal Clear Turtle Wax Ice. A clarified synthetic carnauba that performs like no other polisher wax. Ice leaves no white residue on trim or in seams.
I had no residue whatsoever. It was perfect. Clear and deep, really brings out the shine.
Ice is so advanced, you can use it in the hot sun with outstanding results. Now, your choice is clear. Crystal Clear Ice from Turtle Wax. World leader through innovation.
Crank it up. The ultimate NASCAR pre-race party is only on Speed. NASCAR Race Day. Be there. You'll be in the middle of the action. Live with John Roberts, Jimmy Spencer, Kenny Wallace, and thousands of NASCAR's biggest fans. And get the inside track with live reports from Wendy Venturini.
Let's get to the stories at hand.
Don't miss NASCAR Race Day. Built by the Home Depot. All season long. NASCAR on Speed. Oh, yeah. Be there.
Speed is about winning races, breaking records, and making history. What do I see at 230 miles an hour? It's tunnel vision, and you have one goal, the checkered flag. Speed is my drug.
It's gotta be a new
Welcome back to a very windy day on the Tour de France. Remember, the Tour here on Versus is the most epic race you'll see, and you can follow the best riders in the world online with exclusive Tour content at Versus.com. You sign up for the Versus Map My Ride Tour Challenge. You could win a trip to France to see the winner this year cross the finishing line. That's the Tour de France on Versus.com. Well, as we look out across the Roussillon region now of France, the riders taking just a little bit of time out because they've sensed the wind direction change, and what they're doing here now is taking on drinks, waiting for the next assault. That's Johan van Summen nipping up the inside. 52 seconds we're down to now, Paul. So the 6 riders who've been away since the 12th kilometre are not much further for them of freedom. We're still got a big chase going on behind, and they're not getting closer fast enough just now.
Well, when you see the main field, Phil, as we go through Canet-en-Roussillon, you can see that it is still stretched out in a very long line, and that's an indication that there's a fair amount of pressure still on at the front end of the pack. So it's going to be quite difficult, I reckon, for that next group on the road to come back up here. So Bonen's chances of a victory today seem to have slipped out of the window.
Well, again, Astana are doing a massive share of the work on the front of this. Whenever we go, the front is saying blue Astana jersey. 69% of the work rate is what they are being accredited with now. Now, is that a strong team or what? The yellow jersey of Fabian Cancellara in the group, along with Lance Armstrong, Alberto Contador and Tony Martin, and they are closing in rapidly on those 6 leaders. We'd all agree that we would love to see Gessing get himself back into this race. It may not happen today.
Well, I'm not sure that it will happen today. The only time it is going to happen, Phil, is if this group cuts off. And looking at the faces of these riders, having gone so hard for the last 20 to 30 kilometres, it doesn't look to me as if they're ready to give up.
The third and final sprint of the day. They've been misnomers all day. These boys haven't sprinted at all. They've just tried to work as a group of 6 and keep the peloton off their back. And it might be well the case today. Jeslam was given the first sprint today at 40 kilometres. And Voekler, no, it wasn't Voekler, it was Sapper who got the second sprint. That's Sapper right there, right now, in his first Tour de France. 46 seconds, they're coming in so quickly now, and we're just inside 40 kilometres from the line.
And that third group on the road is still locked in at a minute in arrears on the main field, so they're not going anywhere. The only chance they're going to have is once they catch this group of 6, there could be a general slowing down for a number of kilometres as they start to get ready for the charge into Perpignan. These men here, though, are continuing to work at the front end of the main field, despite the fact that in the back of their minds, Phil, they know they're going to get caught. It's just a question of when.
Well, at the moment, in that 30 coureurs off the back, 30 riders off the back, we've got Jussi Väikkönen as well, the leader of the King of the Mountains. That's no big deal because he's no more mountains today, and he will keep his lead for the moment. And is this Voekler going through? I'm not sure whether we're just on the line here from these tight shots, but it looks like Thomas Voekler is going to take the cheers of the crowd. There he goes. No, oh, we've already passed the line. So it's Sapper, Voekler, Ignatiev was the order over the line.
You might just have noticed that little hand signal that he indicated there. That was just to show the riders behind him. They were going through a dangerous part of the course, and there was an obstacle in the road. Just a bit of warning to make sure that if your head was down, you needed to keep your eyes up and pay attention.
48 seconds, the gap at the moment from the main peloton, which is regrouping, but still in that group behind is Gesink and Tom Bonen. Bonen will be kicking himself that Lady Luck hasn't smiled on him because he needs to be in this bunch for the sprint finish. Underneath the sprint then is the peloton, just a handful of seconds behind the 6 riders up front. Liggett fancying their chances today as well. Slowly but surely, the race is coming back together, but will Bonen get back in the action?
It's right here. It's easy. It's the money you could be saving with Geico. It's right here. It's easy. It's the money you could be saving with Geico.
I was matched with Dave. When I pulled up his profile, I just remember going, wow.
It was almost like you could sense her energy through her profile.
At eHarmony, our in-depth questionnaire lets us get to know the real you, so we can match you with other singles on far deeper levels than other dating sites.
It was different in the fact that we were very connected.
I felt like I was meeting somebody that I already kind of knew.
It was almost like we knew each other, but we just hadn't seen each other.
Let eHarmony help find the love of your life. Get started today with your free personality profile at eHarmony.com.
My Impreza has a Subaru Boxer engine. It's perfectly balanced for performance and handling. I love that engine. And I love anyone else who loves a Subaru engine too.
Impreza love knows no bounds. Love. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Lease an Impreza for $179 per month or get 0% APR financing.
Nanomolecular what? A force field that prevents sludge.
Tired of the claims? Get a guarantee. Only Valvoline guarantees your engine up to 300,000 miles. Get Valvoline. Get guaranteed.
FreeCreditReport.com. Tell your friends, tell your dad, tell your mom. Never mind, they've been singing our songs since we first showed up with our pirate hats on. If you're not into fake sword fights, 20 slippers and green wool tights, take a tip from a knight who knows. FreeCreditReport.com. Offer applies with enrollment and triple advantage.
Tuesday versus delivers sports from soup to nuts.
It's faster, it's harder, it's stronger. You need juice!
First at 11, no one in the sports world can hide from Sports Soup's Matt Eisman.
Do you plan on playing in the NFL next year? Maybe.
Can't waffle on that.
Then,
save it for your mama.
Pride and passion mix with a dose of insanity when the fans take over on Fanarchy.
I'm gonna eat this cat.
Sports Soup and Fanarchy. Tuesday night, only on Versus.
The The 2009 Tour de France on Versus is brought to you by Travelers Insurance. Get better coverage at travelers.com or call 1-800-MY-COVERAGE.
Welcome back. There's another stunning view of the Corbière region of France here. It's our Trek area view, and it's coming to you in high definition for the first time from the Tour de France. If you want to know how to watch everything in HD, then please do check your local listings. Well, it's just eased off slightly at the moment. Big Gregory Raas is the rider in number 2 position here for Team Astana. Cancellara in yellow off to the right. And I think the chase group might just get back. As we look at the pictures here, they are flying down the sides of the Mediterranean, Paul, but I think they've got a chance. Just looking on my computer here, Dave Lelay, who's in the race, and Paul knew his dad, checking his heart rate, beating steady at the moment at about 172. I'd have been frightened out my shoes by now.
That's getting right up there. He must be bordering on the red zone, and will have been bordering on the red zone for quite some time in that 20 to 30 kilometer chase, I have to say. His maximum, because of his youth, would probably be between 185 and 190 beats a minute.
Lucky man. Now it's Cancellara got control. The best place for the Maillot Jaune, the leader of the Tour de France, is in the front to show the rest of the field why you're in the leader's jersey. And certainly Cancellara is a strong man of this opening week. The flat roads have really been to his liking. All of Astana at the front, delivering who? Armstrong, Contador, Leipheimer, Kloden to the front. Who knows?
Question mark. Big question mark on Team Astana. They have got so many leaders, and currently, after that magnificent time trial performance yesterday, feel they occupy 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th place overall. And if there's any problems, a little bit further down in 7th, they've got Haimar Zubeldia. And just a bit further back in 11th, they've got Sergio Paulino. A number of them. It's going to be interesting to see what their tactics are going to be once we go into the big mountain stages. But here they are one solid block, and I reckon now they've put all of their little polemics behind them, and they've decided that whatever happens, Team Astana has to win this Tour de France. Not necessarily Armstrong, not necessarily Contador, but the team itself.
Well, we're in town of Saint-Cyprien at the moment, one of 7 seaside resorts in the region. Well, it looks to me as though the boys are getting excited again, but this time, of course, we've got the green jerseys still here. We've got all of the sprinters except Tom Bonen at the moment. These guys will know Bonen isn't here because of their little race radios in their ears. Bonen might get back in the group. Well, one man who is here, the all-green strip of Mark Cavendish, who's won 2 stages already. Let's find out what the chances are of a 3rd. We spoke to him this morning.
Cav, head to literally toe green. Green shoes, green jersey. You must be getting used to all this green gear. Is your focus changing just a little bit from stage wins to the green jersey?
Maybe, I don't know, not in a minute, but you know, you got to go extravagant. I think it's great. It's Tour de France, it's a big show. It's a big show for myself, big show for my sponsors, and it's nice to be able to dress like this. It's been a big dream, and I'm glad to do it. So.
Your team has worked hard the last 4 days. You guys have commented how you're a little bit frustrated with some of the other sprinters' teams not doing their work. Will your team sit back today, or will they go all out for the 3rd stage win?
You know, obviously we want another stage winner, but yeah, hopefully the other teams will help as well. Like brought sprinters with them. If they don't want to ride for sprint, I don't know why they brought sprinters with them. So you know, hopefully they'll chip in, but yeah, anyway, we want to try and win anyway. So.
One last question, Cav. Basically, there's a lot of sprinters in this race. Who do you see as the one sprinter that you think about every now and again?
I say this now and again. I'm thinking about other people. I'm not thinking about my job. My job's to win, and that's what I'm going to concentrate on.
You got to give us one name. Who's the 2nd fastest guy?
Sorry, I don't know. It's not interesting for me.
Thanks, Cav.
Okay.
You'll never get anything out of Mark. He is self-proclaimed the fastest finisher in the world. Why would you need to worry who's 2nd fastest? And that's what he thinks. Anyway, it was all in green there. So if he walks around the garden, somebody will probably put a watering can over him. But even so, he is a man from the Isle of Man. They've never had a cyclist like him, and they've had some good cyclists in the Isle of Man. Peter Buckley, who won a gold medal in the Commonwealth Games and sadly died when a dog ran out when he was training once and was killed. He was a great cyclist, and he was saturated in talent. But now they found a new man in Mark Cavendish, and I can tell you there's a couple of more youngsters coming out of the Isle of Man at the moment who are now living and racing in Italy and are getting big performances. This time next year, they will be professionals as well. Good to see. It's such a small island. When the sun comes out, which isn't that often, I've always said it's the prettiest island in the world. But as I say, most times when I've been there, it's been raining. I did win a race there, by the way, everybody, once. Most unusual, it's the only one I can remember. So it's up to Cav again at the finish today to take on the sprinters. Oh dear, they are putting the gas on again, aren't they? As the tail now becomes, which is wagging the dog. Sprinters it will be. Look at this. There's Cav at it again. We'll see you in just a moment.
Choosing a car is like trying on a dress. As soon as you slip into it, you know it's the one. But you still turn around to see the back, because let's face it, you want them to hate to see you go, but love to watch you leave.
Introducing the all-new Cadillac CTS Sportwagon.
We all need people who will be there for us in life. People who say, we're with you, no matter what. At Wachovia and Wells Fargo, we're with you. When a house turns into a home.
Excuse me, Rufus.
When a passion becomes a career. When a relationship turns into a lifetime. And when times are tough, but life presses on. We're with you when you need someone to stand by you. Wachovia, Wells Fargo, and you. Together, we'll go far.
At TireRack.com, we don't just sell tires, we test them. On our test track and on real-world roads. We stock nearly 1 million tires. That's the largest selection anywhere. And TireRack delivers to you or thousands of our independent recommended installers, usually in just 2 business days. All this at prices that won't leave you flat. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Argosy University. Passion. Personal growth. Professional advancement. Flexible schedules. Personalized attention. Balance. Solutions. Argosy University. Meet the challenge.
The poker show that started it all is back. It's the 2009 season of the World Poker Tour. See all new episodes every week as the world's best players
God dang it!
and top amateurs
Who is this kid, Vince?
travel from city to city to be crowned WPT champion.
The Riviera Casino is where you'll find the best slot value in Blackhawk. Now offering 24-hour gaming with new $100 betting limits. Win at the Riv.
Welcome back. Yes, we've seen more than our share of crashes these last couple of days, and now the race is approaching the finish, where it's got about 25-30 kilometers to go, but it is a shaky old approach today, so watch out for the riders. Stay with us all the way to the finishing line. Those 6 boys are up at the top of our picture. The gap is coming down ever so slowly. It's now 38 seconds. Now, of course, after we leave you on the live program tonight at 8 Eastern, then you have a chance to see everything else with a little bit of extra spiced up. To find out how spiced up, let's find out off Bob and Craig Hummer.
So now we're not just cycling, we are a cooking class as well. Well, thanks, Phil. We're going to have your good mate, Paul Sherwen, on with us. Frankie Andreo, as well as Robbie Ventura, will be with us as well. And Bob, my good mate over here, is going to hand out a few grades, aren't you?
Principal Bob will be back in the house, and he's going to grade all the riders that are our overall standing contenders and how they've done so far in the Tour.
That's coming up in our expanded coverage tonight.
Thanks, Craig. You're always cooking something up. Why not spice as well? Look at this picture. All of Astana here sharing out the drinks bottles to each other, while Gregory Rast gets on with the job of workhorse on the left. Interesting, Paul, that not only Astana now keeping out of trouble, but Garmin Slipstream, American team, has moved up here. They have a very good sprinter. This is the team of Bradley Wiggins and Dave Miller from the UK. But if they get the result today, I think it will be with Tyler Farrer, who is their sprinter.
He's the man that they will look after over the next 10 or 15 kilometres. And it's almost been a day off for Mark Cavendish's Columbia HTC squad, because everybody else has been so keen to go to the front end of the main field and do all of the pacemaking. But you will see in the last 5 or 10 kilometres the white and yellow jerseys of Columbia come to the front end of the main field to try and control the pack and put that train into place that has taken Mark Cavendish so far to 2 straight victories.
Well, we've got about 45 minutes to race to the finish now in Perpignan, and those boys behind have been chasing for an awful long time. They are still 1 minute 22 behind the 6 leaders, so they are about 47 seconds behind this group. They might come in with the same time gap.
They seem to have been locked in at that over the last few kilometres. There's a good study of Lance Armstrong. He really looks extremely comfortable, very thin as well. You just could see the markings in his face there, the concentration, as he realised that now we're looking at 25 kilometres to go to the finish. And at these speeds, Phil, that we've been looking at this afternoon, that's around about 30 minutes.
25 kilometres, just over 15 miles from the finish, 38 seconds the gap. Again, I said, we haven't really credited those 6 riders with the credit they deserve. They are riding very, very quickly here at the front. Otherwise, that peloton would have wiped them out. They have been averaging over 60 kilometres an hour, just these 6 riders. And to me, it looks as though they're all working well together.
They're all contributing fairly evenly to the pacemaking, that leading group of 6. They've still got themselves just outside of half a minute's advantage, but on these long roads that we're going along now, Phil, as we start to go into Argel-sur-Mer and we move inland, they will be in sight of the main field. They'll be able to judge exactly where they are, and the teams of the sprinters will be waiting just for the right moment to pounce and pull them back into the fold.
Well, here at Argel-sur-Mer, it's the scene in 1928 where the King of Aragon signed a treaty with the King of Mallorca. Well, there's no treaty here today now, as they keep pushing on. Everybody talking to each other at the front of the race. The white jersey here is being worn by Tony Martin of Columbia HTC, not to be confused with that white jersey there of Team Cervelo.
This is the second group on the road here, and this is they're starting to wind them up. That's Dave Zabriskie on the front, and he's seen the possibility now of actually pulling himself back into the main field. A lot of red jerseys there of Team Cofidis. And I wonder if Tom Bonen now is starting to lick his lips, because he's done no work at all in this group, Phil. He's taken the gamble of trying to figure out whether they come back together or not. And if it does, he's had a fairly closely easy ride.
Indeed. Oh, here we go. This is guessing again in the back of the cars here. Now, is he going back up to the leaders, or is he being dropped by them? Boy, he's had a rough ride. His legs are pretty tired. He's got another teammate coming back. We could be on top of Alduez here with the crowd so close to the riders. They're enjoying a holiday down here in Argel-sur-Mer. That is a tremendous speed. Of course, the Tour de France, as you all know, is losing its popularity. At least, that's what a lot of journalists would like to think, and it's not so. Sitting at the back here is Johan van Summeren, teammate of Cadel Evans, the Australian, on Silence Lotto. These boys have got no time to look left or right. They've just got to drive on. This race is absolutely flying now. 14 miles to the finish. Plenty of time yet for Tom Bonen to rejoin and maybe take part in the sprint in Perpignan. The Tour de France, you can't beat it, can you? Ask Lance.
When your engine's running clean, you feel it. And Pennzoil Motor Oil actively cleans out up to 15% of sludge the first time you use it. So feel the clean. Not just oil, Pennzoil.
Why toss out your money? Switch to Sprint. Save $475 a year with the Simply Everything plan and get the BlackBerry Curve 8330 smartphone for just $49.99.
Ground control. We have a problem. Switching to lithium power.
I feel better already.
Energizer Ultimate Lithium, the world's longest-lasting AA battery and high-tech devices. Energizer, keep going.
Wow, sweet minivan.
That's minivan A. You.
It's raining.
With the great taste of a McDonald's McCafe Mocha, a better day is possible. Freshly ground espresso, real steamed milk, and decadent chocolate. Go ahead, McCafe your day.
Growing up in a family with my dad winning the Indy 500, you take some heat. There's really no sport like it. We're inches apart, wheel to wheel, and one touch, you're gone. I did 19 last year, but it's kind of a crazy feeling. You got all these friends at college taking history exams, yet I'm sitting there going 230 miles an hour. It's a crazy lifestyle. That's how it goes. It's gotta be a new race.
About this race is you're hitting the most extreme conditions you ever hit in a race.
I can't even describe how bad it is. It is the roughest road you could ever imagine riding a bike over.
The bikes are unbelievable. I don't know how I raced Roubaix before without it.
We think it's nice to have stock bikes in the races so people can see how good those bikes really are.
Exceptional. They've surprised me again.
Let's have a look where the men we see as the contenders overall in the Tour. Armstrong on 0 time behind the lead of the race. Contador is third. All the Astana boys are right there. Fifth is Leipheimer. Christian van der Velde, who was fourth last year, is 12th at the moment. Andy Schleck is 20th. Sastre, last year's winner, needs 2:44 to get yellow, while Cadel Evans is back at 2:59. Moments ago, the chase behind rejoined the peloton, and Tom Bonen is back, but I didn't see Gessing come in. I hope he has made it, but I'm not sure he has. We're going under 20 kilometers to go here. Just 20 kilometers to go before the sprint finish. They still need to catch the 6 boys up front. So as we go through this myriad of people here at Argel-sur-Mer, we're going to go directly to the finishing line, talk to our cycling experts, Robbie Ventura and Frankie Andreu, on the finishing area.
After speaking with some of the riders earlier this morning, there is definitely some tension brewing between Team Columbia and the other sprint teams. Columbia feels, hey, we've got 2 stage wins. If these other teams want a chance at victory, they need to do some work. They need to chase the breakaway and take control of this race. The other sprint teams, like Cervelo, Quick-Step, and Rabobank, feel if Columbia has the fastest man, they have the most to lose. They need to chase the breakaways, and they need to do the work. Either way, if there's a stalemate, and both Columbia and the other sprinters teams call each other's bluffs, this could be a golden opportunity for an opportunistic non-sprinter to steal the stage. For more thoughts on the riders and today's stage, let's go to Frankie Andreu.
Today's day is a stage for the sprinters. It's about as pancake flat as you can get. But the riders are tired. The first few days of the Tour have been intense, and especially the team time trial. The riders are going to be thinking about recovery, and of course they are already thinking about the mountains that are coming up. Tomorrow we go into Spain, and for the Spanish riders it is going to be tranquilo, a day of recovery, and in the team time trial, many riders hit the deck, so they're going to be thinking about trying to heal themselves and to get fully rested. But as we come into the finish, adrenaline will overcome any kind of fatigue that the riders are feeling as they want to take that prestigious win here at the finish on Stage 5.
Well, there is the man who should win today, Mark Cavendish, but it looks as though Columbia are having to take up the responsibility. life here at the back of the peloton because the lead has gone out again to 1:18, Paul. It could be, you know, the inter-competition rivalry here between the sprinters teams. They don't want to help Team Columbia because they're going to carry Cavendish for what would be a probable certain victory.
Well, that's why you've seen Team Columbia. They've seen how the race has unfolded so far. Now they've decided to take control at the front end of the pack, and that will be a decision probably made, of course, by Alan Piper in the team car behind. And you can see that organization, that big long line at the front. If we can get down there, the jersey would be white and yellow with a little bit of black in there. So Columbia are in control, and they will be trying to reduce that gap because it's gone out to a rather scary 1:21.
We are looking at 17 kilometers to go. The peloton is clearly flying. We are 1 minute and 22 seconds behind the 6 leaders. It has reversed from 35. They've started to ride away from the peloton, and this is why Team Columbia HTC has taken up the chase, because they're trying to put Mark Cavendish into a win situation. And we're getting another example here of the other sprinters teams not helping, because why help a team that will outride you at the finish?
Well, I think you should go up and help anyway, because if you don't try and pull the race back together, you're not going to have a chance of taking advantage of a mistake by Mark Cavendish. And I think that's what really got riders like George Hincapie a little bit riled the other day. And even Mark Cavendish himself, Phil, was not that happy. He said, if you want to ride like a bunch of juniors, you'll get results like a bunch of juniors.
Well, our computer says there are still a huge bunch of riders back at 2 minutes and 8 seconds of the leaders, which is about a minute behind this bunch. And I think the poor old Guessing is still not back in the peloton. But Tom Bonen is. We've seen him rejoin. He is a sprinter. Now, will he marshal his quick-step team from Belgium to give a little bit of a helping hand now to the Columbia team? Because if they don't share the load, these 6 riders are going to ride off the front. 1 minute 25 the gap now. They're the Garmin boys with the orange tops. We've got Cervelo here for Hushoff. We've got the riders, of course, from Columbia and Astana. No interest, but they're always in a position to go with any move that comes.
Well, Astana not really concerned, Phil, about riding for the stage victories here. Their goal is a lot further down the road. They're trying to win the bike race overall. I just noticed, in fact, Oscar Freire, the Spanish rider, moving up to the front too.
Yes, well, Oscar Freire could be a sprint for him. He's the most unusual sprint. He's very fast, but as he's getting a little bit older now, he's also got stamina, so a hard finish is required for him to win. Now, don't forget, let me remind you once more to come on board and play our game, versus.com/ride of your life. Every day you have a chance to win a trip for 2 to the 2010 Tour de France. You can win the leaders' jerseys, or indeed you can win a Cervelo S2 bicycle. It's the Cadillac Performance Predictions jerseys we'll give you, by the way. Today's code word is Peloton. So come on board and play. Well, we've got a good stretch of road for the moment, nice and wide. This is where you drop in top gear and you go as fast as those legs will take you towards Perpignan. Now, it does look as though there is help from Garmin Slipstream here. That's where we're aiming at. We'll have to tidy up the finishing line a bit. We're approximately 20 minutes away from knowing who's won today's stage of the Tour de France.
When it comes to going bald, you now have a choice. Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
It is your real hair. It's your natural hair. You wash it, you cut it, you swim with it.
Bosley is the world's most experienced hair restoration experts, having pioneered virtually every major advancement in the art and science of hair restoration.
I'm very satisfied, very happy with what I've done. This has got to be one of the best decisions I've made in my life, I'll tell you that.
Bosley Hair Restoration is a relatively simple outpatient procedure. The results look completely natural, and it's affordable on nearly any budget. Call the toll-free number now to receive your free, no-obligation information kit that will help you decide if hair restoration at Bosley is right for you. You don't have to accept going bald. Do something about it right now.
Call 1-800-480-3231. That's 1-800-480-3231. Call now.
I think it was the Sunday styles that brought us together.
I think it was the weekend review. Getting the times delivered for me, well, that's really the best part of the weekend. That's why I love the Weekender.
It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday subscription that puts you in the center of the conversation.
So you call the 800 number and you save 50%.
50% off home delivery? Fantastic.
The best journalists in the world work for the Times, and there's no debating that.
So call now. Get the conversation going.
Get the Weekender for as low as $5.20 a week. Call 1-800-832-3658 and be part of a great conversation.
Hey, I'm Jake of Body by Jake and founder of Exercise TV.
It's time to make the commitment to lose weight and get fit. That's why I created Exercise TV, to give you access to the best workouts from the best fitness trainers. Exercise TV delivers hundreds of workouts every month, so you'll never get bored. If you have digital cable, it's free on demand. And now, Exercise TV takes fitness online with exercisetv.tv, where you can get free workouts, downloads, and exclusive exercise tips. Make the commitment. Your workout is waiting.
Just a reminder, don't forget to log on to Versus.com and create your very own fantasy cycling team. The competition officially gets underway today, but it's never too late to take part because your team can always win one of the daily prizes as well. So that's the Versus Fantasy Cycling Challenge. It really is fun. Thanks for all your entries so far. Well, there's the peloton now, and they're asking each other, are we making a mistake here? Because the gap is stretching out. It's now 1 minute and 19 seconds. We need some help up front if they're going to catch them. Well, we're back with the breakaway here just for the moment. And these 6 riders in another couple of kilometers, if it stays around 1 minute and a quarter, are going to say we have a real chance here. They're all working together. They're all being chased. They're all on rival teams. There's 2 of the riders here on the same team. And they are going to help each other as much as they can to get to the finish. Then they'll fight it out.
They will be dreaming of getting into the outskirts of Perpignan, because by the time they get to the outskirts of Perpignan, Phil, they will start to get a little bit of respite from the wind. I have to say that the young rider from Française des Jeux, Hatterovic, is a very good sprinter, but he could well come up against Ignatiev. And let's not forget that in the Olympic Games in 2004, Mikhail Ignatiev was the Olympic Games gold medalist in the points competition, and you've got to be a pretty good sprinter to win that.
You have. He's a sharp rider on the track, very supple rider. Hutrovic, by the way, was last in the time trial in Monaco by a considerable distance, so he didn't waste any energy on day 1 of the Tour de France, but now he seems to be finding his feet, and it is his first tour, as it is with Mikhail here, who is a Russian cyclist on Team Katusha. That's his Albert Timmerman, or Albert Timmer, rather. And Skill Shimano, they lost a man yesterday with a double break of the arm in the team time trial.
But you have to say, for a team that was brought into the Tour de France as a wild card selection at the very last minute, they've been very present at the front end of the race on a number of occasions and very visible, as if to say thank you very much to the organisation for picking them.
Well, I have to say that the elastic has snapped for Robert Gesink. He is now 3 3/4 minutes behind the leaders on the road, so that's really sad. He's losing too much time to be a winner of the Tour de France this year. You can't lose minutes against these boys. It doesn't happen, and you don't get it back. So he looked for a high finish, but it won't be the first this year.
Pretty tough for Gesink, because he just was on the point of coming back into the group with that group of Tom Bonen. Then all of a sudden, I think, as you say, Phil, the elastic snapped, and now he's just going to have to try and survive. There is the leading group of 6 riders coming up to the 10 kilometre to go banner.
There it is, 10 kilometres to go. 1:18. These 6 riders are going to think with only 6 miles left to ride, they have a chance. There's the official gap. It says 1:20 there. It's come down, we think, to 1:17, but that's by the by. 3 seconds won't matter. Can they hold off the field, spoil the sprinters? Well, if nobody gets in and helps Team Columbia win or lose for Mark Cavendish, they won't have a chance either.
Well, this is not the ideal terrain for that leading group of 6 now, because it's a long, straight, open road, and the guys doing the pacemaking at the front can judge the amount of effort that they have to put in to catch those 6. But strangely enough, it's the team of Agri-Toubel. They've got a sprinter too, Romain Felu.
Well, I must say now, there's the peloton. These long straight roads are favouring the bunch rather than the leaders, that's for sure. They want to get into the town, which, as you can see, is straight ahead there. Mind you, so are the Pyrenees. So, will there be a bunch sprint? If so, we'll take a break and then stay with us to the end.
Every race is a battle, measured in fractions of a second, fought with a philosophy we call system integration, an approach to engineering where every motion of every rider, of every Super 6, is channeled into forward motion to maximize performance. Let the battle begin.
May I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for car insurance that isn't going to break the bank.
You're in the right place. Only Progressive gives you the option to name your price. Here.
A price gun?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell you what I want to pay.
And we build you a policy to fit your budget.
That's cool. Feel so empowered.
Power to the people.
The option to name your price. New and only from Progressive. Call or click today.
Buckle up, everybody, because we're taking a ride that can strain your relationships and hurt your pride. It's the credit roller coaster, and as you can see, it kind of bites. So sing the lyrics with me. When your deck goes up, your score goes down. When you pay a little off, it goes the other way round. It's just the same for everybody, every boy and girl. The credit roller coaster makes you want to hurl. So throw your hands in the air and wave them around like a wannabe frat boy trying to get down and bring them right back to where your laptop's at. Log on to freecreditreport.com. Free credit score and report with enrollment and triple advantage.
Whether you're powering down the asphalt in a Cervelo S2 or a Cadillac CTS Sport Wagon, you're sure to get that rush. Now imagine the rush you could feel at the final stage of the Tour de France with the Cadillac Ride of Your Life sweepstakes. Just watch the Tour de France on Versus and look for the on-screen code. Then log on to Versus.com/Ride of Your Life to enter. You could win a Cervelo S2 and a VIP trip to Paris to watch the 2010 Tour. The Cadillac Ride of Your Life sweepstakes, and watch the Tour de France right here on Versus.
I didn't want anyone to know that I was secretly having someone else find someone for me. When you own your own business, there's no time to go out, so I went on eHarmony to let them find Mr. Right for me.
Review your matches for free. eHarmony.com.
Adaptive friction extinguishers? And hypertronic wear resistors? Seriously? I use one that offers an engine guarantee. Yeah. Only Valvoline guarantees your engine up to 300,000 miles. Get Valvoline. Get guaranteed.
Welcome back. Look at the speed of the peloton. It's getting a bit panicky down there now as a new bunch of riders try to move up. Michael Rogers centre. Take a look at the faces. These boys are driving now, and the reason is the leaders, the computer says, will win by 20 seconds. It hasn't been wrong so far today, I must say. Garmin, a little bit of panic, Paul. There should be. Tyler Farrell, the American sprinter, needs to be brought to the front now. All of a sudden, all of the sprinters are coming to play their part. They're desperate. They suddenly realise that 7 kilometres out, only a minute and 4 seconds behind, they may not catch those leaders.
Well, it's starting to look very precarious. They've got to shave off around about 10 seconds for every kilometre, and that's a tall order if these guys continue to work as they are doing. Tête de la course, the front end of the bike race for the 6 leaders who've led this race, Phil, since the very first kilometre.
Jeslan, Hutrovic is up there. Sapper, Ignatiev, Tima, Voekler. Those are the boys who have been stars since the 12th kilometre out today. An awful long ride. If they were to succeed, they would have led the race for 184 kilometres. Sometimes the peloton get it wrong, and now there's an attack. That's caused thing. Now look at Voekler, jumps on the wheels. That rider seemed to be tired. Don't believe it.
Well, he hasn't been able to get onto the slipstream. It was Ignatiev who went off the front there, and he's a great track rider. He's read this to perfection, but this is not so good for the group, because if it all comes back together now, Phil, they're going to lose their momentum.
Well, did you see the way Hutrovic tried to grab the wheel of Jeslan? He almost sandwiched poor old Thomas Voekler over the side of the crash barrier. Right, well, they've got to go straight back into a working rhythm. If they start to slow, the bunch will close. It's 62 seconds now, but there is still a chance. They're going by the 6 kilometre banner. And another attack coming in again. It's Ignatiev, and Hutrovic recognises that and tries to reach him.
Well, that's a great move by the man from Katusha. They need to get straight onto his wheel if they want to survive. And there you can see the response of a very good professional bike rider. Thomas Voekler has seen this as being extremely dangerous. He's jumping across the gap there. He will come just up to the wheel of Mikhail Ignatiev and sit there. But what this does, this acceleration and deceleration, it takes down the overall average speed of the breakaway group, while behind Phil, the main field will still be slogging along at 55 kilometers an hour. But as they approach 5 kilometers to go, it is still the 1 minute mark.
They have lost 1 second in half a kilometer. That's not quick enough, Paul.
It's not quick enough. They need now to shave off 12 seconds for every kilometre of the race remaining, and that means they're going to have to be charging into the finishing straight at around about 60 kilometres or so an hour behind them.
Well, Thomas Voekler takes a final drink. Is the bottle off? No, he's going to keep one for when he finishes. And now we know that Mikhail Ignatiev is looking for the victory here. He started out life as a World Junior Time Trial Champion. He had that title for 2 years between 2002 and 2003. We know he's got good speed in those young legs. He's only 24 years of age. Here he comes leading up. Hutrovic again. 5 kilometers to go, 58 seconds. Watch how that time drops between 5 and 4, and they've gone up to a minute. They're actually starting to pull away. I do believe it's curtains for the sprinters.
Well, Thomas Voekler there is waiting for the time to try and pop a move off the front end of this group. Watch out for Hutrovic there, because he has got a great sprint. I think Ignatiev, Phil, is not feeling very confident. Look at the move there by Voekler in the blue shorts.
It's a tester. I said he would go about 2 kilometers out. He's proved me wrong. This is the first attack by Thomas Voekler. They're looking at each other. Timmer looks back. Ignatiev is tired from his tacks. Hutrovic is just following wheels. This is a great crafty move by Thomas Voekler. He's a great tactician. He may have worn the yellow jersey in the Tour de France. He's never won a stage.
Well, he's trying to get that stage victory here this afternoon. He knows exactly how fast the main field can go on the run in towards the finish, and I think he's broken the back of this 3-man chase group, but he's got to keep going to hold off the front end of the main field, who I think you're right, Phil, may well have completely and utterly messed up their timing this afternoon.
4.3 kilometers to go. The gap is 56 seconds. It was 58 at 5 kilometers. This is not coming down quick enough. We've dispatched Jeslan and Sapa back towards the peloton. They won't know how many they're catching, of course, and how many they're leaving out front at this stage. Thomas Voekler, who is the shrewdest tactician, he's ridden 7 Tours de France, rather, and he's worn the yellow jersey. Lance Armstrong was the man who finally, after 10 days, tore it off his back and won the Tour. 47 seconds. We're inside 4 kilometers to go. A desperate finish now.
Coming across the gap now, very easy on the back of a motorbike, isn't it? Up to Thomas Voekler. He will find a little bit of extra energy in those legs of his this afternoon, because he will now be starting to dream about a stage victory in the Tour de France. Every time he slows down, he gets out of the saddle to battle with his machine to keep those pedals going over in the biggest gear that he's got. Another move coming at the back. Again, it looks like it's Ignatiev trying to come across the gap.
And that looks like Anthony Jeslan trying to bridge across to him there at the moment. Well,
no, this is Timmer.
It's Timmer who's got, it's a skill rider. Yes, it's Timmer. Tim rather. There's Timmer. Can't get his name right after all this time. Albert Timmer trying to get across to the leaders here. Now Thomas Voekler just coming up. Well, he's just 30 years of age actually. He's had 4 wins this year. Only one of them a road race. 2 of them road races. Both of them mountainous events. This would be a huge coup if he was to win one of the flattest races on this year's Tour de France.
Well, just a little bit further up the road, around the corner there, you can see the red car of the race referee in behind Thomas Voekler. But Albert Timmer is a very astute Dutchman there. He's seen the possibility of getting himself a stage victory for Team Skill Shimano. This man now is finding that little bit. He's holding off the main field because they're still locked in at 48 seconds. The sprinters on this occasion, I think, have messed it up.
Well, at 6 kilometers, it was just over a minute. 3 kilometers to go now. We've only lost about 14 seconds. If we lose another 14 seconds, it'll be 34 seconds for the win. And we'll have had a great triumph. We'll have proved the computer wrong.
Well, it's good to prove the computer wrong every now and again. This man now has made his move. He has to give everything he's got, looking over his shoulder, trying to judge whether or not anybody's coming back. When you're in a situation like this, the body is screaming out for a little bit of respite, but you know you've got to push it that little bit further forward. Not a good sign, not good for the morale, Phil, when you see them pulling their cars out of the gap there, because it makes you wonder, am I going to survive? Have I got enough advantage? And Albert Timmer here is looking straight up the road at the back wheel of Thomas Voekler.
Well, this is another huge performance by a first-timer in the Tour de France, Albert Timmer, from the very small-scale Shimano team. This man's on what we call the Pro Tour teams. They're the F1 teams of the world of cycling. 44 seconds, 2 kilometers to go. He's got to have done this, but it's not a question of whether he wins or the guy coming up behind. The Peloton can't possibly get back now. This has been a show of defiance today, and when they get there, 184 kilometers in front. There are easier ways to win stages of the Tour de France.
Well, he's still got to battle, because Timmer has got the advantage of looking at Thomas Voekler a little bit further up the road, and he's judging his effort, trying to pull himself back to the Frenchman's wheel before the finish. He's only about 5 or 6 seconds behind him, and Voekler knows that. He looks around every now and again, and he's trying to find out whether he's got enough energy to hold off the return of the Dutchman.
Well, dare I remind you that Voekler is French. They don't win many stages of the Tour de France. This will be huge here in Perpignan before we go briefly off to Spain and then off to Andorra before we come back into France. And I think Timmer might be just beginning to fade a little bit. Really, you shouldn't be looking round, Thomas. You're the bike race right now as he continues to drive on down the barriers here in Perpignan. We're going to see the magic red kite in the sky. That will give him the fillip he wants, I think, to head for home.
And that's where he's looking for. You can just see that red banner across the road there. Once he goes underneath that banner, that was the indication he's got 1,000 meters left to go to the finish. He's not completely confident about this, because he keeps looking over his shoulder. He's wondering whether he's got the strength to survive here. And for the skill rider, just a little bit further back, Phil, he's trying to claw his way back to Thomas Voekler down these big, massive boulevards.
900 meters to the finish of this stage of the Tour de France under the killer. He's got it, Paul. There's a 10-second gap to 1 kilometer to go. Now for Thomas Voekler, who has ridden his 7 Tours de France. At last he's going to get a crack at winning a stage. In 2004, he finished 18th in this race, and he wore the yellow jersey for 10 days. He went from a total unknown in the sport to an absolute French cycling hero. He's never gone back to approach a high finish, but today he shakes his head. He is going to have the proudest moment of his career, I guess, since he wore yellow, because he's going to win a stage of the Tour de France. They're not going to catch him now, and what a way to do it. 184 kilometers in the lead for a Frenchman in Perpignan. Look, he does not believe this. He's going to enjoy the moment. Looks over his shoulder. He can cruise now. There's a big race for second place. You can just salute the crowd. It's all yours, Thomas.
Well, that was a great move by him. They all survived. There's the main field, and not far behind. They won't catch this man, Thomas Voekler, who gets the first victory that he's wanted in a stage of the Tour de France after a long day in the saddle.
Oh, and they're all over the breakaway right on the line as well. Is that the skill boy getting there? Oh, that was the Katusha rider. Did survive to the end, but the rest were right over the top there. Mark Cavendish looking for points for that green jersey.
Well, Cavendish leading the front end of the main field home, but I tell you what, that has been a battle this afternoon. All of the major contenders, though, are in the main field. Lance Armstrong, Fabian Cancellara, Alberto Contador, they're all there, but today it's a French story come true.
Absolutely. I mean, he's such a hard worker. It usually results in failure, but today, for Thomas Voekler, he's just won his 29th race in a career which is starting back in 2001, and it's a stage of the Tour de France.
Well, I tell you what, Lance Armstrong, I think, will know that there's been a big battle here this afternoon. He's in the main field safely with the same time as everybody else, so there'll be no change at all, Phil, in the overall classification tonight.
And what it's also done, the Peloton have found their own way to stop Mark Cavendish winning stages, because they simply won't help him get to the leaders.
Well, I'm surprised that these guys survived, because, you know, it came back to 38 seconds at one stage. Then slowly but surely they prized it back out once again to over the 1 minute margin. This man was the most astute in that leading group of 6. He knew the speed of some of the other riders in the group and knew that if he wanted to win the stage this afternoon, he had to do it on his own.
Being guided towards the control behind, but getting ready for protocol by Philippe Soud on the right in the white shirt, Chief of Press and Television. He's done as many Tours de France as I have, I think. As we look out along Perpignan, the winner of the race today, Thomas Voekler. Ignatieff survived, Cavendish third. Well, for all you youngsters who are beginning to be top bike races, never give up thoughts of winning. Thomas Voekler didn't. The result is he's now a stage winner of the Tour de France. He can hang that medal alongside his yellow jerseys of a few years ago. Everything wrap up when we get back. See you in a moment.
% of all the vehicles we've ever sold in this country are still on the road. Now that's a long-term investment. Range Rover, the luxury that's more than a luxury. For special deals, visit a Land Rover Centre today.
You wanted to see me, sir?
Oh, come on in. I had some other things you could tell people about Geico. Great claim service and a 97% customer satisfaction rate show people really trust us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Trust is key when talking about Geico. You gotta feel it. Why don't you and I practice that with a little exercise where I fall backwards and you catch me?
No, sir. Honestly, I don't think...
No, we can do this.
Oh, dear.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
My name is Derek Berge. I'm in Los Angeles, getting honked at.
Quaker State wants to know, who has the world's worst commute?
74 miles, 4 hours. I have a sweaty, wet back, and it's 110 degrees. Speed limit, 65. Me, 5. My engine, not happy.
A tough commute is tough on your engine, so get an oil that goes way beyond industry standards. Quaker State bonds to metal surfaces for 2 times better wear protection. Quaker State, real, durable oil.
Crank it up. The ultimate NASCAR pre-race party is only on Speed. NASCAR Race Day. Be there. You'll be in the middle of the action. Live with John Roberts, Jimmy Spencer, Kenny Wallace, and thousands of NASCAR's biggest fans. And get the inside track with live reports from Wendy Venturini.
Let's get to the stories at hand.
Don't miss NASCAR Race Day. Built by the Home Depot. All season long. NASCAR on Speed. Yeah. Be there.
What's up, Kat? I'm reading an article about that new show, It's On, with Alexa Chung.
What? Alexa's live show will allow her to say and do whatever she wants.
True that.
Then why are you wasting your time?
Because that jacket she's wearing is fierce.
I saw it first.
It's On with Alexa Chung, weekdays at noon.
For 54 holes of Denver's most amazing mini golf, powerful electric go-karts, and dueling dragsters, make it a day at Adventure Golf and Raceway. Come live the adventure today.
The 2009 Tour de France on Versys is brought to you by Land Rover, designed for the extraordinary.
Welcome back. We've arrived in Perpignan to a French victory, the first one of this year's Tour de France, but there's no change as we anticipated in the overall standings in this race, which means that Lance Armstrong is still 0 seconds behind Fabian Cancellara, but it was a hard race for them.
It was a very long testing race. A lot of nervous energy will have been dispensed, I think, Phil, on the road today on the race down towards Perpignan, because for a 20 to 30 kilometre section, they were bowling along at close to 40 miles an hour with a lot of people taking risks to stay at the front end of the main field.
Well, I have to say, you see the colourful balloons here depicting the Tour de France is in town. I thought once that split happened, and Guessing, by the way, is behind and hasn't finished yet, so he lost a lot of time. Oh, let's go back and just show you the Cadillac performance highlights of the day. It all started all smiles, and Fabian Cancellara given the nod by 22/100ths of a second over nearest camera Lance Armstrong after that team time trial. Then we had our usual early crash. This time it was very early, before we even started the race in the 0 kilometre. That was Gerald Cholik down. Then we got to the 0 kilometre.
But then at 0 kilometres, it was going from the gun, as they say in the jargon of professional cycling, and almost immediately out of the blocks. You can see Thomas Voekler there from B-Box Bouygues Telecom deciding to open up the gap, and eventually a 6-man leading group prized an advantage over the front end of the main field. The big story, I have to say, though, Phil, is this young man, Robert Guessing, a man we felt could possibly finish in the top 10 overall at the Tour de France. Well, he was down and bloodied.
Not a pretty sight for the tall, lanky Robert Guessing. He never did get back to the main field. As we got round the banks of the Mediterranean, these 6 riders here look to be certainly shot down by a splintering peloton, but they stuck to their guns. They got within 35 seconds, the peloton, thanks to the huge efforts on the left here of Fabian Cancellara and the Astana team, who were also doing a lion chunk of the work. Look at the damage they were causing. It had to be all over for the breakaways, but it wasn't.
Well, it wasn't, and 10 kilometres to go. It looked very much as if it was all going to come back together, because that group of 6 riders was still hanging on to 1 minute and 15 seconds. And at this point, the sprinters must have thought we're going to have our chance. But no, they started to attack in their leading group. First, it was Mikhail Ignatiev, a rider from Russia, who was chased down by Albert Timmer from the Netherlands. But with 5 kilometres to go, they were still attacking each other.
Still 4 of them left as they came into the last 5 kilometres, and then inside 5 kilometres, Thomas Voekler, once a yellow jersey of this Tour de France, jumps clear of the field. And the other 3, for the first time, hesitated. And those who hesitate are lost.
But they failed on this occasion as they got to 1 kilometre to go. Thomas Voekler went under the red kite of the international sign saying there's 1,000 metres left to go to the finish. And at that point, he looked over his shoulder. He knew he'd got it. The main field were coming in fast, but not fast enough.
This was amazing. He couldn't believe it himself. After a breakaway of over 186 kilometres, he was first home. Look at Ignatiev just on the sharp end of the peloton. He passed Timmer. Timmer got swept away, but Ignatiev hung on for second place. Well done, Thomas Voekler. And for the French, it's been a big day. That's our Cadillac performance highlights. There's the stage result for you. Voekler winning by just 7 seconds over Ignatiev, and Mark Cavendish sweeping up. Valuable points, though, in the green jersey. Tyler Farrar right with him in 4th. Gerald Cholik, who fell off before the race started, got up to finish in 5th place today. Another big sprinter on Team Katusha, Napolitano, got home in 6th. Oscar Freire was in 9th, the top 10. Bit of a bad place there for Thor Hushovd. Only 10th for the big sprinter from Cervelo. Looking further down, Duque is also a good sprinter. He was 12th. Albert Timmer being swept away. The clock stopped him in 15th place. All of these riders timed with the same gap of 7 seconds. Arishiro, the Japanese sprinter on Bouygues Telecom, 18th. He's a good rider. And this is live pictures, folks. I'm very sorry to say that Robert Guessing, the blood coming down his left knee, the clock telling us here 9 minutes and counting. 9:40, I think it was, Paul.
Well, a long, hard day in the saddle. This is the man who retains the overall lead there. And there's Mr. Lance Armstrong as well, still locked in almost exactly the same time as Fabian Cancellara. 0.22 of a second behind.
He's picking up his bike and moving away. This is actually the anti-doping control here, where he has been for his end of race test, and now he is leaving the arena because there's no prizes to pick up today for Lance, but he still lies in 2nd place on 0 seconds to Fabian Cancellara. And I think that's all he expected to do today, because today was not a day for the big boys, although they always try to split the field. Cancellara, is he strong or what when he goes?
He is very strong indeed, but I tell you what, I think Team Astana are very scary. We're going to have some great battles in the mountains between Team Astana and between Team Saxo Bank as well. I was very impressed with Astana today, but because of what happened just 48 hours ago when the race was split up on the running towards the finish, everybody was nervous today, Phil, and everybody was paying attention.
Well, don't forget, tomorrow we go into Spain. The race restarts at a place where Lance Armstrong used to have a house in Girona, and we race down to Barcelona. In fact, George Hincapie still does. And we race down to Barcelona. It is not a flat finish, surprisingly. It's up a famous little hill called Montjuic. And it's up there where the action could come. A second could be gained.
A second could be gained, and Lance Armstrong, I'm sure, will be looking for that. It's a 1.5 kilometre ascent to the finishing line in Montjuic, and it's not very easy either. It's only about a 5% gradient, but it might just be enough to split the field. But I think the way that Fabian Cancellara is going at the moment, Phil, you've got to get out of bed very early in the morning if you want to catch him out.
Well, you've got to be strong, and you've got to be vigilant, and you've got to have no problems. If you get those three things right, as a rule, you'll stay exactly where you are at the top of the overall classification. Well, Perpignan here is one of the regularly visited towns here. We're way down the south of France now, just north of Spain. There's Lance. He started out this morning with a chat with Thor Hushoff finishing in 10th place. He's never looked in trouble, although he's certainly made sure he's in the right place with his team all around him, including Alberto Contador, and there he is, Levi Leipheimer.
I have a feeling that as we look at the face of Lance Armstrong here, Phil, today the team was completely solid. I think they've had a chat behind closed doors and decided they don't want to have any animosity between any member of the team, because it's important for them to ride as a solid block if they want to win the race as a team. And it's not really important who wins the Tour de France overall, as long as it's got the name Astana on his jersey.
That's right. Well, tomorrow it is the 6th day of this Tour de France. It seems to be going rather quickly. It's because every day we have something different to talk about. It's a great race towards the end. And for once, I for one, am very happy that Breakaway, with all the effort that they put in over 186 kilometres, they deserved to get what they got out of it. And for Voekler, he got the win.
And how many times have people said to me, why did these guys go out on the breakaway like that? Well, that is why, because every now and again the breakaway survives and they get a chance and a crack at a stage victory in the Tour de France. And on this occasion, it's good luck to the breakaways, because they were the ones who came up with the goods.
Well, we are live here on Versus, and we are waiting for the podiums to give Voekler due credit on the podium tonight. I think the reason we're waiting for it is because the French are beside themselves down there with the press trying to cram and get the first words off Thomas. But he's a rider who has added a little bit of colour to the world of cycling. If you may remember that when he did lose his yellow jersey to Lance, he climbed the mountain in the Alps the day before he lost it, and he held it by just over 20 seconds, if memory serves me right. And Lance says, if a guy tries like that, he deserves to keep yellow.
Well, there we go. There's Thomas Voekler just coming up to the finishing line once again in slow motion, and there will be a lot of red, white and blue, I think, tomorrow, Phil, in the newspapers around France, because they will be extremely proud that they've got their victory here this year.
But tomorrow, of course, he will be going off to Barcelona for the big finish, the scene of the 1992 Olympic Games. I remember them very well. It was a very, very hot Olympic Games indeed. And Lance Armstrong was making his debut. He finished 14th in the Olympic Games road race. We had no idea what would follow in the years that came after that.
And the day after the Olympic Games finished, he turned professional and went to ride his first bike race, and that was a bike race called the Grand Prix of San Sebastian,
where he managed to finish
plumb last.
Well done. There he is. Thomas Voekler gets his moment. I just tried to catch a glimpse of Bernard Hinault on the right there. There he is, a proud Breton on the right of our picture, 5 times winner of the Tour. Now, at last, about to congratulate a French stage winner. We don't get many in any year in the Tour de France these days, so he's a right to milk this one and enjoy it.
Well, over the last few years, there have been a number of tours, Phil, where the French have not even won a single stage. They've started very early out here this year on getting a victory on stage number 5. And I think it's a very popular rider who's got the victory for them as well, because he really endeared himself to the hearts of the French when he wore the yellow jersey for 10 days.
There's all the photographers down there now. Let's see what Hinault does. Very good, he said. Très bon. As he now goes down the dignitaries, let's have a look at the Hampton Hotel's overall standings. They are the same as they were this morning, at least amongst the leaders here. Gesink will lose over 9 minutes, but these boys are still the same. And all of these riders are Astana, Armstrong, Contador, Cloden and Leipheimer after their magical team time trial yesterday. Bradley Wiggins, the British rider on Garmin Slipstream, holds 6th. Zubelda back to Astana, he's 7th. Tony Martin keeps the white jersey today as best newcomer to the Tour. He's in 8th position. Dave Zabriskie 9th, and Garmin Slipstream's Davy Miller completing top 10. Back to Astana, there 11th is Paulino, and then back to Garmin, Christian van der Velde in 12th himself. This is all as a result of the team time trial. It will open up, I think, in a couple of days' time, but not at the moment. As Michael Rodgers in 16th, Andy Schleck completes the top 20. I'm hearing that Frankie Andreu is now with Levi Leipheimer.
Levi, another windy crosswind day. Team Astana was in the front for much of the day. Can you explain a little bit of the reasoning with that strategy?
Well, like I was telling Neil, I mean, you can't win the Tour today, but you can definitely lose the Tour, so we just have to protect what we've got. We've got all the cards right now of everyone in the race, so we have to be attentive and not lose any of those cards on a day like today, so it's best to actually be a little bit aggressive in that situation.
At times, it was 3 groups. It looked very nervous and very aggressive, kind of fighting there within the peloton. Can you explain that mood a little bit?
From the neutral section to the finish line, it didn't stop. It was, I mean, you know, if you're not moving up, you're moving back. So it's like, you know, salmon swimming upstream. You have to constantly be passing riders just to hold your place. And it was like that the entire day. There was super narrow roads, windy the whole time, left, right, bumpy, and then you saw, you know, the road with the ocean on both sides. That spells danger. So.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Levi.
Well done, Levi Leipheimer. Back to the podium now. He always puts on his Swiss champions jersey before he takes his next yellow jersey. So Fabien Cancellara now pulls on another maillot jaune.
Well, I think he's extremely proud, Phil, of that title because just a week before the start of the Tour de France, he didn't participate in the Swiss Time Trial Championship because he wanted to try and win the road title, which is a title he'd never won before in his career. So I think that's why he's got the white cross there on the red jersey.
Well, just watching the way he hit the front today around the lake there and drove. The Astana team are wise to be near the front. They did hook up to his back wheel, but they could only hang on when this boy hit top speed, and everybody at the back of the race was split up into 3 pelotons. That's tough.
But it's always a question of on these stages, and I think as Levi Leipheimer explained there, Phil, you've got to be attentive. You've got to stay at the front end of the main field, because on the run in towards the finish, if there is a split in the field, you can very easily lose yourself 20 or 30 seconds. And this race so far is still only separated at the top end of the leaderboard by fractions of a second. That's why you must be very careful, especially in these crosswind situations.
Let's go back to the podium here. Mark Cavendish has come out now, green jersey. Yes, he didn't win today. He had 70 points, but he gets the points for 3rd place, and it was best of the rest in effect. Tyler Farrar right up behind him there, so he's keeping Cavendish in his sights. Hushoff will have dropped a little bit because he only got 10th, Paul, wasn't he?
Well, he will have opened a gap between himself, and let's have a look at where the riders are going tomorrow, because although we're talking about this as being the Tour de France, tomorrow we cross the borders. Right at the bottom there, you can see we move down to the European hometown of George Hincapie, Girona, Spain. They drop down to the Mediterranean, go down the Mediterranean to finish right in the very heart of Barcelona, the home of the 1992 Olympic Games. And it's not an easy route to get there.
No, it isn't. We've got a couple of 4th category hills early on, then we get a bit steeper with 2 3rd category hills. It's 113 miles, the race tomorrow. Our live coverage starts you 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Our expanded coverage, in which we will always give you more interviews that we can't give you on our live coverage, is in our special program at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, it was another tough day in the Tour de France. These riders are all being softened up now just as they start to line up for the Pyrenees. As always here in the south of France, the scenery is great, but the wind does tend to blow. Don't forget, do log on to our website at versus.com. That's where you can follow the Tour de France audio streaming, play our games, enjoy the tour with us. We're around yet for more than 2 weeks. This is the most incredible bike race in the world. I think I could say it's the most incredible sports event in the world. The Tour de France goes to Spain tomorrow, so we'll all have to learn a new language. But will it be a Spanish winner? Will it be a French winner? Or will the Americans finally get over that line in 1st place? We're all enjoying the tour here in France. We hope you're enjoying it too. Until tomorrow, goodbye.